Hey guys. Since I've heard there will be a full reboot of the anime, and one of my favorite classics, here's a Hitman Reborn crossover. This is what if Naruto was reincarnated as the heir of the Vongola Mafia family, Sawada Tsunayoshi. When Uzumaki Naruto breathed his last, he didn't expect to wake up in the world of the living again. He was old, and tired, and so ready to move on. And well, he wanted to see his wife again, damn it. But of course, that wasn't what happened. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 1. When Uzumaki Naruto breathed his last, he didn't expect to wake up in the world of the living again. He was old, and tired, and so ready to move on. And well, he wanted to see his wife again, damn it. His beautiful, kind, loving, gentle, understanding wife. The only person in his life who never gave him shit about anything and always had his back when crazy came knocking on his door at 3 in the goddamn morning because, apparently, he was the motherfucking Hokage and it was his job to be responsible for other people's messes. He had earned retirement and peace and the right to tell people not my fucking problem, asshole. Naruto could just picture his afterlife. No more evil paperwork. No more cranky chakra beasts with egos the size of Konoha and opinions in his stomach. No more psychos with plans of world domination and stupid, overpowered bloodline limits. Why the hell had he wanted to become Hokage in the first place? Nobody told him it was going to be like this. He didn't even know that collateral damage was a thing before he took the hat. So many forms, why? There's a reason for subclause 3 that clearly states no alcohol during missions. Never before had Naruto suffered from migraines and carpal syndrome. So much for Kurama's vaunted healing factor. In other words, he was just so done with everything and everyone. Old man Sarutobi was in for a hell of a beating for feeding his young, impressionable mind such bullshit when Naruto met him again. Erosenin and Itachi, the clever bastards, had the right idea all along. They still did their duty to the village, got a badass S-rank reputation, and no one expected spies to file reports. Naruto couldn't escape the horrors of paperwork even after he passed the hat to Sasuke's kid because then he got stuck with the advisory position. Like, what the fuck? He felt dirty just holding the same position as Danzo of all people. His only consolation was seeing Danzo's face when he told the slime ball his beloved village was now in the hands of an Uchiha. Naruto was really looking forward to that. But of course, that wasn't what happened. Being present for the delivery of 2 babies, having a medic Nin as a teammate, and being on Ino's shit list when the blonde just happened to need a test subject for her new jutsu had given him an intimate understanding of the birthing process. Naruto had learned that lesson well. Giving birth was traumatizing, and the Yamanaka were some vindictive mindfuckers. So it wasn't hard to connect the dots when he found himself being pushed out of the dark, warm, wet place he had previously thought was the in-between. Realizing it was, instead, the uterus of his new mother was a much bigger shock. Why? Naruto screamed at the powers that loved to fuck with his life and now his afterlife too, with tears streaking down his cheeks, feeling cold, weak, hungry, and utterly disgusted. Because you're everybody's bitch, Kurama, helpfully supplied. Oh, you're here too. Naruto paused in the midst of crying, much uncoordinated flailing, and his new parents' joyous exclamations about tuna fish and cuteness. That's great. Arms wrapped around him, and something soft was shoved in his face. I'm being breastfed, his cognitive abilities deduced, mouth latching onto the nipple on instinct because he was still half blind and disoriented as hell. Weren't babies supposed to be incapable of higher thought processes or something? He then lamented. Yeah, but you've got me. While you were drowning in denial and dreaming of your wife, I've been fixing up your new body, including your tiny human brain. Be grateful, brat. Kurama huffed in that oh-so-smug tone of his. Naruto choked as he burst into fresh tears. Chapter 2. By the time Naruto had managed to take control of his mental faculties, get used to his tiny, fragile, infant body, and overcome the novelty of having parents who actually catered to his every need 24/7, he had come to some startling realizations. 1. This was not the world he'd originally been born in. 2. His new parents had terrible taste in food. 3. There was something strange about his chakra, but he couldn't pinpoint what exactly because Kurama cautioned him against messing with it yet. Hence, Naruto focused on the things he could safely ascertain. He'd long since outgrown the 12-year-old reckless brat he'd once been, and had more self-preservation instincts than Sai, thank you very much. His first clue had been the language. All that baby nonsense his parents kept crooning, Papa was you, my little tuna fishy, and many, many nauseatingly playful arguments about what he got from whom, so strong and manly, just like Papa, Tsukuin, brought the long-forgotten memory of his meeting with the sage of the six paths to the surface. Because it was kind of similar to his mother tongue, like another dialect that had evolved into something different in order to fit in with the times. Except, Naruto was now Old Man Rakudo, and trying to upgrade his vernacular was a bitch and a half. Sakura was the academically inclined in their team. Naruto just had lots and lots of crazy firepower, and a you aren't taking me alive bastards mentality. In retrospect, Sasuke was the more balanced out of the three of them when it came to putting theory into practice. And the asshole never once let him forget it. Neither did Kurama. Do not compare yourself, or that detestable Uchiha, to father. You'll never measure up. Kurama grinned, all teeth and contempt, and Schadenfreude, and with one flick of his tail sent Naruto sprawling across the cold, hard floor of his mindscape. Father would have been fluent in mere seconds, just like when he was kind enough to dumb himself down to speak with you back then. I wouldn't have bothered if I were him. Don't I know it? Naruto tisket under his breath, rubbing his abused scalp, but tellingly didn't get up or contradict the giant fuzzball. Now shut up. I'm trying to understand what kind of people my new parents are. And what the hell is this weird obsession with tuna? It had better not be my new name. Because ramen, he could understand, even if Erosenin had later explained that no, you hopeless moron, you were named after the hero in your father's favorite book, which I, the gallant Jiraiya, wrote, for your information. Oh, and in honor of your mother's clan, too. Not that it did any good. What kind of Uzumaki are you, brat? I told you to make a simple grade 1 storage seal. Storage? Why did it explode in Gamariki-san's face? Wait, where did the orange paint come from? Naruto, you know I was kidding, right? Haha, no, wait. Don't through, still, the point stood. Ramen was the food of the gods, and if his parents had chosen his name based on their love for heavenly noodles, well, Naruto would have been A-okay with it. If these people had named him after stupid seafood, on the other hand, Naruto would shove a Baijidama up the stupid blonde's ass. Fortunately, his mother wasn't as prone to fish-y endearments, and after 2 long, embarrassing months of too much breast milk, Kurama's mocking laughter, and perfecting the art of strategically aiming at his father's forehead when the man was on diaper duty, Naruto had a name, and then some. Tsunayoshi. Tsuna for short, or, his mother's preference, Tsukuin. His parents were Imitsu and Nana, and there was also the rare mention of a grandfather named Timoteo and a many times ancestor named Ieyasu. Imitsu might have believed Naruto was oblivious like, normal babies, all those times he was being lulled to sleep in the man's arms, but the joke was on him. Even if Naruto tended to tune him out when Imitsu went on one of his tuna fish deliriums, Kurama didn't. Now, the image of his stupid father, with his stupid grin, calling him Tsuna in his stupid voice had triggered another memory. Of a brown-haired man, technically undead at the time, hugging a half-exasperated, half-wistful Granny Tsunade, sobbing apologies in her hair and pleading for the village's survival and something about gambling debts, with an equally undead white-haired man whose default expression seemed to be scowling next to them. Sawada Imitsu might have only shared an obnoxious shade of blonde hair with Namikaze Minato, but his personality was all Senju Hashirama. Coupled with his barely hidden anxiety and nightly ramblings about Naruto being the spitting image of Ieyasu and don't worry, my tuna fishy, Papa will protect you and you'll have a nice, long, civilian life, I promise, it didn't bode well for Naruto's future aspirations of a paperwork-free nirvana. Naruto could only pray there was a Senju Tobirama in the secret family business he'd undoubtedly get dragged into, kicking and screaming if he had anything to say about it, preferably in administration. The Nidain might have been a humorless bastard without an ounce of compassion, and a stone-cold killer with zero tolerance for people who sometimes made the wrong choices, but he was efficient. He wasn't that bad. There was a subtle conflict of emotions inside that statement, if Naruto strained his ears, before the fox's voice adopted his usual condescending drawl. Certainly better than the likes of Madara and Hashirama. For a human, he was almost tolerable. Scoffing, Naruto stared at him with knowing eyes. And I suppose your glowing endorsement of his character has nothing to do with the fact you both wanted to dance over Madara's corpse. As predicted, Kurama snapped, sullen and growling and with the countenance of someone who'd been terribly cheated. Bah! He was dead. Who cared if we stepped on his corpse just a little? Instead of replying, Naruto lowered his gaze to Kurama's little feet. Right. The fox shuffled his feet, unrepentant and still looking petulant, and yeah, Naruto could more than empathize with old man Rikudo right now. Chapter 3. His mother was a filthy liar. Naruto gazed into the mirror, betrayal churning deep in his gut, and despaired over what the reflection spelled out for his physical development. Strong and manly were not adjectives he'd attached to his new body type. It wasn't something that could be fixed with nutrition and exercise either. This was the body and the face of a Bishinin. Sweet, soft features, thick brown hair, large doe eyes, smooth skin, delicate bone structure, and all that pretty shit. His future was set in stone. He'd be stalked, mobbed, molested, and subjected to all manner of depraved acts by rabid fangirls. And fanboys, and creepy pedos, and mad scientists. Oh gods, why me? This was Sasuke's bane, an Uchiho-exclusive curse bestowed upon that despicable clan for the sins of their forefathers. Serves the bastards right, Kurama whisper cackled, never one to miss an opportunity to deride anything Uchiha. Not mine! What did I ever do to deserve this fate? The fox's snickering was disturbing enough to pierce through Naruto's moment of totally justifiable hysteria. His left eye developed a slight twitch. Not amused, but starting to become suspicious, he glared at the oversized pain in his ass. Stop laughing, Kurama, and do something about it. Didn't you say you fixed my body? If this is the result of your meddling, so help me gods, I will. Kurama's laughter ceased abruptly, as if offended Naruto would reach that conclusion. Yeah, right. Pot meat kettle. Shikamaru had never forgiven Naruto when he, on a whim of generosity he later came to regret, had gone to sleep and allowed Kurama full use of his body for a night. Naruto's passive-aggressive approach to retribution was the stuff of legends, he also later came to know and dread. It had culminated in 4 weeks of misfiled paperwork, an ungodly amount of low-fat tofu, and collective mental breakdowns when the phrase "there will be a reckoning" came out of the Naruto's mouth. Naruto had never forgiven Shikamaru either, his precious ramen. Why, Shika? Just. Why? TCH. I didn't alter your genes, brat. A smirk full of sadistic glee spread over Kurama's mouth, and Naruto knew the furball's next words would piss him off something fierce. You can thank your new parents for that oh-so-pretty face. His eye twitch became spastic. I will shave off your whiskers and put pink bows on your tails. The fox didn't believe him, judging by his careless shrug and the challenge in his smirk. Well, if that was how he wanted to play it, you have to sleep sometime. Naruto's lips curled into that same vulpine smirk, and I know where you live. The sole sign of Kurama's apprehension was one of his tails matching the tempo of Naruto's eye twitch. Naruto kept smirking, content to wait. Running a shinobi village and raising 2 kids had taught him patience, if nothing else. You wouldn't dare, the fox snarled, but considerably less sure of his invincibility, before he gave up pretense altogether. I may be able to improve some things, but not now. It will be detrimental to your growth and probably do more harm than good. Remind me again once you hit puberty, and don't expect any miracles. A couple of inches taller, denser bones, sharper senses, yeah, I can do those, but not much else. You have to work out for the rest. Satisfied, Naruto nodded and let the matter drop. He had more important things to contemplate, like the fact his mother lied. He should have remembered that adults had lied to him all the time throughout his childhood, with him being none the wiser, because the seal had been airtight back then, but Naruto had almost forgotten what that felt like. Nobody had the balls to lie to his face in a long, long time. After all, it was impossible to lie to a person with a chakra monster capable of sensing negative emotions and Yamanaka mindfuckers on his payroll. Except, Sawada Nana didn't fit the stereotypical profile of a liar, quite the opposite, in fact, which was weird and, more importantly, worrying, because she seemed to live in a perpetual state of lying to herself. Naruto knew all about masks and deception and fake smiles that hurt so fucking bad. Some days he just wanted to die and take everyone with him, but Nana's smiles weren't like that. Nobody could be this absent-minded, placid, gullible, optimistic, and so fucking zen that it put natural sages like Agamajiji to shame. Naruto chose to forget Agamajiji was also a senile old toad, with narcoleptic tendencies and an annoying habit of spouting prophecies in his sleep, and thus not a good candidate for the sage archetype. More than that, though, she had gotten worse ever since his father skedaddled. It had been a grand affair, admittedly, filled with tears, declarations of undying love, and over-the-top tuna-fishy bullshit. The only thing that marred Mitsu's emotional departure was the guilt-ridden glance he shot Naruto before he tried to smother him in his lumberjack embrace. Still, Nana had waved him farewell, smile etched on her lips and stars in her eyes, and went on living her life like an earthbound bodhisattva. It was eerie, unnatural, and rang some alarming bells in Naruto's mind. You thinking what I'm thinking? And by that, he meant a female version of a reverse mindfuck Yugura, conditioned to ignore reality, and do good instead of evil. Kurama's lips peeled back for a vicious snarl, teeth bared and fur bristling, because that was some serious shit and mental manipulation always rubbed him the wrong way. Could be, but how are you going to check if it is? And because he was a major dick, he drawled out, "You suck at genjutsu," but because he was also a big softy, deep inside his black shriveled heart, he couldn't help but add, "Her emotions are genuine, if you were worrying about that." Naruto snorted, shaking his head, though his worry didn't abate. "Thanks, but that doesn't reassure me, you know. If it's something like Kotoama Tsukumi, then it would fool even you." As Kurama embarked on another tirade about accursed eyes and the arrogance of humans and father should have stayed celibate, Naruto silently bemoaned his non-existent talent for genjutsu, and vowed to fix his mother's condition once he accessed his chakra. Chapter 4. It took Naruto 5 years to fully grasp just how different this new world was. If he suspected his mother's mind had been tampered with before, he was now 100% certain. No normal person would exclaim, "Oh my, Tsukuen, Mama is so proud of you, my little genius," when her 4-year-old son learned how to read and write in mere months, then proceeded to devour the local library. Or preferred to watch documentaries and the world news over cartoons with his morning milk on the television. On an unrelated note, the librarian was deeply unnerved by the whole Sawada family. A goddess of the hearth in human skin? A changeling child come to learn the ways of humans and subjugate the world? A construction worker in the South Pole? Yeti, her mind fearfully whispered. She brushed up on her knowledge of mythology, and stocked up on protection talismans, just in case. What Naruto learned astounded him. His birth country alone dwarfed the elemental nations in terms of population, and Japan was only a tiny dot on the world map he made sure to memorize. If you know the terrain, Kakashi-sensei had once told him, gaze dark and haunted, 2 weeks into their newly formed team, in one of his rare moods where he offered valuable advice instead of waxing lyrical about Ika, you've already won half the battle. Your trap-making skills are top-notch, your tactics are innovative and unpredictable, and you've got an active imagination. Use it, Naruto. You'd make a damn fine ambush specialist. Naruto appreciated these little nuggets of wisdom as much as he hated seeing the shadows in the man's eyes, the pain, the grief, the self-loathing steeped into his soul. When he moved on from geography to history, though, the people of this land had seen war on a scale Naruto could barely wrap his mind around. It was horrifying. The bloodline purges of the Bloody Mist had nothing on the genocides Hitler committed in his mad crusade for the Aryan race's superiority. There was just so much prejudice and discrimination, and what the fuck for? Race, religion, gender, skin color? It was meaningless. Very few wars were waged for territory, the really old ones, when people still fought with swords and couldn't wipe out cities in the blink of an eye. They had mostly entered an era of peace in recent years, but Naruto wasn't fooled. Thanks to Granny Tsunade's lessons, countless council meetings, and decades of dealing with the fire daimyo-esque bullshit, he knew political warfare too damn well not to read between the lines. This piece reeked of politicians, backstabbing, manipulative, lying sons of bitches, the lot of them. Who had the gall to consider Konoha's system of a military dictatorship barbaric nonetheless. Shinobi raised child soldiers, yes, but they were honest about their profession and what it entailed. They gave them purpose and bonds and a place to belong. Hell, after Sasuke off that asshole Danzo and kinda sorta maybe reformed Orochimaru, children were given the choice to stay civilians instead of being kidnapped and brainwashed into emotionless, dead-faced soldiers and fanatical, creepy experiments. Ironically, nobody acknowledged Sasuke's contribution to the end of child slavery. Except Sai and Yamato Taicho, and they didn't even like the bastard. Not that Naruto blamed them. Few people did, like Sasuke, that was. In light of these discoveries, Naruto couldn't just forget his roots and start over in a world run by politicians, chock full of lies and rampant prejudice. It would be an insult to his family, his teachers, his friends, his predecessors, the ideals he'd promised to uphold when he took the hat, and the will of fire. More than that, Naruto was a possessive bastard. Growing up alone, despised and shunned by the masses, had left scars in his psyche, scars that had cultivated some ingrained habits, that made him cling and fuss and be an overbearing mother hen, as Sai often joked, hugging his wife to sleep, assigning Kage Bunshin to watch over his kids, dragging Kakashi-sensei and Sakura-chan to Ichiraku for ramen every week, sending summon toads to Sasuke when the bastard took too long to touch base, visiting the academy just to chat with Iruka-sensei, sneaking into the clan compounds to prank his friends, needling Kurama until the fox snapped and kicked him out, strolling through the village when the nightmares kept him up, all to reassure himself they were there. He wasn't about to let reincarnation, of all the ridiculous things that had befallen him, change him as a person. He was Uzumaki Naruto, Nanadame Hokage of Konohagakure, Jinchuriki of Kurama, Toad Sage of Myobokuzen, son of Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina, husband to Hyuga Hinata, father to Boruto and Himawari, teammate of Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura, pupil of Yumino Iruka and Hatake Kakashi and Jiraiya. He had bled and fought and sacrificed for all of them. They were his. He would become Sawada Tsunayoshi, because Himitsu and Nana were his now, too, but in his core, in the deep places of his soul, he'd always be Uzumaki Naruto. Glad your angst fest is now over. I almost mistook you for an Uchiha with all this damn introspection and woe-is-me drama. Of course you d. Wait a minute. Naruto rewound Kurama's words in his mind. Was that modern slang? You've been watching late-night talk shows again, he then deadpanned. This is the last time I'm giving you control of the TV remote when I'm thinking. The fox scoffed, irreverent as ever. So sue me. You humans are entertaining creatures. Sighing, Naruto eyed him with the long-suffering patience of an owner whose pet had been misbehaving when out of their sight, but had long since given up on correcting their bad behavior. Yes, you would find entertainment in TV shows that encourage people to share their feelings and life stories, but whose true purpose is to air their dirty laundry and publicly ridicule them for their poor life decisions. He rolled his eyes, utterly fed up. Why did I ever expect otherwise? The invention of trash TV is one of humanity's greatest achievements. Kurama grinned, and as if to add insult to injury, gleefully purred, best thing ever. Naruto buried his face in his hands, lamenting his poor life decisions. Why had he thought it a brilliant idea to unlock the furball's cage during the Fourth Shinobi World War? Surely, the infinite Tsukuyomi couldn't have been worse than this. Chapter 5. During Himitsu's 5-year-long absence, Naruto had managed to adjust well to civilian life in his new, quaint hometown, if he did say so himself. There had been many snow-themed postcards and photos of Himitsu posing in his bright orange overalls, grinning stupidly at the camera in front of a roadblock, complete with peace sign and pickaxe slung over his shoulders. And phone calls. Full of lovey-dovey, tuna-fishy mushiness, while Nana swooned and giggled, and Naruto boggled at the man's excuses. Gods, the excuses. In a contest between Kakashi-sensei and Himitsu for the most absurd, outlandish, I can't believe you expect me to believe this excuses, Himitsu would win hands down, and that said it all. Honestly, at this point, the man's only redeeming quality was the orange. Naruto filed it all under unaware civilian family, on a need-to-know basis, undercover long-term mission, weird as hell but thank God not self-destructive coping mechanisms, and let the matter be. There were worse things than a well-meaning but idiot father trying to protect his family from the darker aspects of his job. Hell, who knows, if Naruto hadn't been reincarnated as his son, the man might have even succeeded in keeping this charade up for years. Still doubtful, but stranger things have happened. Himitsu would have to come clean when Naruto was, inevitably, recruited into this shady family business. Problem was, for Naruto, who was born and raised to be a shinobi and a weapon of mass destruction, Namamori was akin to suburban hell. He'd like to think that, even with all his past experiences, he had never managed to reach the epic paranoia levels half his ANBU core possessed. It was, therefore, more than a little unsettling when something kept warning him off at every corner during his mother's weekly supermarket runs. From dark alleys, to construction sites, to red lights, to overly aggressive strays, to delinquent teenagers, to tattooed men who sported the classic Yakuza look. Don't get him wrong, he could understand how all these things might be dangerous for small defenseless kids, but it never stopped. This couldn't be him, right? It's not you, brat. I think this might actually be a Kekei Genkai. Huh. That would have never even crossed his mind. What, like super intuition or something? It made sense though. Still, out of all the cool Kekei Genkai, why did it have to be this one? It's useless and distracting. Of course it is. The fox shrugged, unsympathetic to his plight. It's newly awakened, so untrained. Could be a great asset if you manage to control it, though. True, but there was an important detail missing. And how, exactly, am I supposed to do that? I don't know. Why don't you ask that stupid father of yours? Chances are you got it from his side of the family. Kurama and Naruto stared at each other, letting that thought stew, before they opened their mouth at the same time. Meditation might help. Meditation it is. Before Naruto could implement his new Kekei Genkai training though, Nana got another tooth-rottingly sweet phone call that heralded Imitsu's much-awaited return. His intuition screamed. Well then. However annoying his super intuition was, it had never, technically, been wrong. Case in point, 2 days later, Imitsu arrived on their doorstep with an old man who exuded the same aura as the Sandaime. Naruto hid behind Nana's legs, playing the part of the ignorant civilian child he was supposed to be, seeming uncomfortable with strangers on the outside, while he analyzed the old man before him. He was foreign and dressed to the nines, carried a jewel-adorned, polished scepter that looked more like a family heirloom than a walking stick, held the self-assured posture of an aged leader and the loose poise of an experienced fighter, and had kind, weary eyes that, in turn, subtly scrutinized Naruto as if searching for something. "He's my clan head, ain't he?" he concluded, pinching the bridge of his nose. "This is like the heir presentation ceremony old clans like the Hyuga do because it's traditional, only more informal since Nana isn't in the know about clan affairs and Imitsu wants to keep his family hidden. Which, so unfair. Naruto thought he had at least escaped this whole clan bullshit. His wife was awesome, yeah, but her clan was a bunch of self-entitled pricks who insisted on strict decorum and proper manners and had a stick up their ass the size of Gamabunta. They branded their kids with the caged bird seal before Hinata abolished that practice, for fuck's sake. Then it struck him why Sawada I'm totally civilian, honest, honey Imitsu would bring the clan head to meet his family. Old man's here to check if I have the Kekei Genkai. Looks like it so far. Kurama hummed, blood-red eyes gleaming with an unholy light that Naruto didn't like one bit. If he slaps the seal on you, it's going to be exactly like the good old days. God damn it, Kurama! Don't jinx it. Super intuition is nothing like the Byakugan. Why would one need to seal it? It's not like it can be stolen. Even as he said that, Naruto resigned himself to the possibility of it happening. He had a history with seals and fathers who thought they knew best, after all. A bad one. Papa is home, Tsukun. Come give Papa a hug, my cute tuna fishy. Not in the mood for Imitsu's antics after his conclusions, Naruto's cute, innocent mask slipped off his face. He stared at Imitsu's stupid, grinning mug, and said with as much venom as his childish voice could produce, "Kyuso Oyaji." If he was going to end up with another seal on his body because of his father, he'd make damn sure to voice his displeasure. Imitsu's stupid grin, too, slipped off his face, the fact his son called him shitty old man not computing in his brain. He blinked once, twice, then turned to his wife with tears shining in his eyes. "Nana, my tuna fish hates me." Giggling, Nana patted his arm. "Era, he doesn't hate you, honey, silly Hinata, he just hasn't seen you in a while." "Huh, well, what do you know? Bullshit excuses must run in both sides of the family." Amused, Naruto barely suppressed a snort. 5 minutes later, he was much less amused when his parents abandoned him to the clan head's company out in the garden. "Hello, Tsunayoshi-kun." The old man smiled at him, and wow, that was the Sandaime's smile right there, from the soft crinkling of skin around his eyes to the indulgent tilt of his lips down to the warm feeling it gave Naruto every time he saw it. "My name is Timoteo di Vongola, but you can call me Nano. It means grandfather in my language." Trying to ignore the warm fuzzies in his stomach, Naruto smiled back at him, his cute kid act back in place. "Nano Timo is Papa's papa?" Timoteo laughed. "Yes. We are all family." The way he intoned that word, family, invoked trust and safety and protection. It put Naruto on edge even as it drew him closer. "This isn't normal, right?" Gritting his teeth through his smile, Naruto grew more agitated the stronger the feeling became. "I was way too wary of him to start trusting him just cause he smiled at me like the Sandaime used to." He's doing something. Kurama sat up, brows furrowed, as a wave of heat slammed into them. The fox shrugged it off with the kind of contemptuous ease Naruto greatly envied right now. It wasn't half as easy for him to do so. Oh. I think he's coaxing your chakra? Don't know why, but he's trying to see if he gets a response. The temperature rose, and he was burning. Naruto panicked, then he was on fire. From the expression of utter stupefaction on Timoteo's face, that wasn't the sort of response he was expecting either. The old man gazed at him with a mixture of emotions, while Naruto kept burning, until he settled on one Naruto recognized. Determination. Namikaze Minato had worn the same expression once upon a time. It didn't end well for everyone involved until many years later. Naruto could only bang his head against Kurama's paw while the fox howled with laughter. Timoteo's finger was on fire now, too, and creeping towards Naruto's forehead. What the fuck? Oh, well, he sighed, surrendering to his fate, because fighting against it would cause more trouble than it was worth. Here comes the seal. And indeed it came. Only, Naruto poked at the fiery orange chakra that burrowed under his skin and kinda caged his own. This was like a chakra suppression seal? He murmured, torn between being ecstatic it wasn't the caged bird's seal and horrified at how shoddy it was. First of all, Kurama could burn it off in 3 seconds flat, but since Timoteo wasn't aware of the biju stuck in Naruto's gut, he could be excused for not taking that into account and only aiming for Naruto's chakra. Not that he had a chance in hell of suppressing the fox's chakra with this kind of seal. And second, this seal was so unbalanced it was guaranteed to bleed off and mess up other stuff besides chakra. Hell, the nervous system would be the first thing it would royally fuck up. All Naruto could say was even Orochimaru would be appalled by the old man's sheer ineptitude at Fuinjutsu, and that guy was all for cursed seals. A seal that turned a perfectly functioning vessel into a pathetic, uncoordinated mess with an inability to retain information would have been an anathema to him. Being stuck in one would have probably driven him to suicide. And why had Naruto never thought of that? It would have been the prank of the century. Maybe Timoteo wasn't such a lost cause, in terms of prank seals at least. He probably read about the seal somewhere, but never had cause to use it. Kurama yawned, as if this sealing fuck-up was beneath him, and he had absolutely no fear of seals. He so had. One of his tails bitch slapped Naruto. It didn't stop his laughter. In any case, he growled out, ignoring the laughing, twitching body at his feet, the old man meant no harm. I can sense no negative emotions besides regret and sorrow, and self-blame. Still don't know why he was trying to coax your chakra, but he does regret it now. So he meant well, but is just crap at seals. Mind made up, Naruto cracked his knuckles, breaking out in a grin so wide it made Kurama take 2 steps back. I'm still gonna prank the ever-loving shit out of him. Timoteo di Vongola returned to Italy with a newfound fear of orange, skin red and blotchy, and an adult-onset allergy to tuna. Chapter 6. Naruto was brooding. His mother had announced one sunny morning that, since he'd now reached the ripe age of 6, she had signed him up for formal schooling at the local elementary, and nothing could change her mind. He had argued in favor of homeschooling or private tutoring. He had tried reasoning, pleading, pouting, sulking, even calling his useless father to advocate his case, only for Imitsu to feed him some bullshit about how school is an important formative experience. Tsukuin and listen to your mama, tuna fishy, she knows best, and you need to make some friends, it'll be good for you, son. That Kurama actually agreed with his stupid father on the last part shocked him enough for the fox's words to register in his stubborn mind. You'll always have me, Naruto, Kurama began, voice soft but wrapped in steel, staring at him, staring through him, but you need to connect with people in this world. You've never been a solitary creature, brat. You need people in your life. Naruto knew the situation was critical then, because Kurama didn't do this sentimental crap on principle. School is full of little kids, he tried to argue, sounding rather petulant even to his own ears. I have nothing in common with them. Which was true, but not the real issue, and they both knew it. Sighing like an exasperated parent who had to have this conversation with their kid at least once in their lifetime, Kurama shook his head. Try it out for a couple of months, and if you can't deal with kids, then send a shadow clone to school and henge to an adult form to mingle with people closer to your mental age. That should be enough of an incentive to start your chakra control training. Embarrassment colored his face when Kurama slashed him with a wry, knowing gaze, made him avert his eyes to the floor and curse the fox's empathetic mastery. Just because Kurama didn't do emotions often didn't mean he was blind and deaf to Naruto's inner turmoil. For the fox to intervene this time, instead of letting him sort through his issues alone, meant Naruto had been doing a fine impersonation of an ostrich and burying his problems so deep he need an earth jutsu to excavate them. Or a meddlesome biju. Don't think I haven't noticed you've been slacking off. The old man's shitty seal has been gone for months, yet all you do is taijutsu training and meditation for your Kekkai Genkai. You keep thinking, what's the point? You've been doing well so far, but you're not really adjusting, brat, just fooling yourself that you have. You miss your family, your friends, your village, your old life. And that's fine. You're allowed to miss them. But that's not really living, is it? That was the heart of the matter, wasn't it? Sheepishly, Naruto rubbed the back of his neck, peeking at the fox from the corner of his eye like a chastised child, unaccustomed to being in this position. 90% of the time, he was the voice of reason and maturity in their partnership. It was mortifying for both of them that they had to have this kind of conversation. Kurama's eyes narrowed, as if blaming him for having to point this out. Then the fox said, sharp and flinty and final, go out there, make some friends, start training seriously, and get out of your funk. And that was the end of it. So here he was, his first day at Namamori Elementary, sitting under a tree in the schoolyard during lunch break, eating his bento while little kids were being little kids all over the place. It was boring as all get out, or at least it was until one black-haired runt, maybe a year older than him, made a beeline for him with recognition in his cloud-gray eyes. Carnivore! The brat breathed out when he reached Naruto, reverent as fuck, eyes wide and full of wonder, keeping a respectable, red safe, out of weapon's reach, distance from him. Naruto was certain he never met the kid before, so with that thought in mind, he turned to the other source who might know what was going on but vainly hoping otherwise. He'd given him control for one night in order to burn off that seal, for Sage's sake. How much trouble could he have caused in one night? A whole fucking lot, he then amended. Naruto should have learned from the Nara Tofu incident. What did you do? Silence. Kurama. Jittery shifting of feet. Explain. Guilty swishing of tails. Now. The fox broke his suspicious silence, only to launch into a quick, mumbled sequence of words, almost too low for Naruto to hear. Unfortunately, he did hear, then wished he hadn't. I might have gone to check out the bad parts of town we avoided last time cause your Kekkai Genkai is more of a pussy than Matatabi, and I might have run across the brat trying to be some kind of mini KMPF officer, and I might have saved him from some low-life scum about to stab him in the kidney. Wow, all of that in one breath. Wait, what did the Konoha military police force have to do with anything? Last he checked, 7-year-old kiddies weren't allowed to join unless they were Uchiha motherfucking Itachi. Okay, that doesn't sound so bad. You saved the kid's life, good job. Positive thinking, he reminded himself, was the key to success in life. He had promised to try living, hadn't he? So Naruto tried to focus on the good parts lest he choke the fox to death. Murder wasn't the answer to life's problems, nope. He wouldn't go down the Sasuke route no matter how much he wanted to right now. Still not much of an explanation for the carnivore part. What? Did you do? Kurama bared his teeth, refusing to be cowed under Naruto's deadly calm. TCH. Look at the brat. If he hasn't got some damn Uchiha blood in him, I'll eat my tails. He chanced another glance at the brat. Huh. Well, damn. Could be an Uchiha with those pretty genes, except for the light-colored eyes. Not the immediate issue, though. Oh, Naruto had a bad feeling. Growing more irate by the second, the fox kept going, pacing back and forth as he narrated his tale of the events that resulted in this new clusterfuck. But what clinched it was when the little hellion denied ever needing help, told me not to get in his way again, and worst of all, he gave me that fucking Uchiha grunt. He grunted. At me, oh boy. His feeling grew stronger, as did his conviction of the brat's heritage. I might have then cursed his ancestors, claimed even the insane Tanuki, for all his gender confusion and thirst for blood, was better at child-rearing than his human parents. Not that Shikaku could ever hold a candle to me, 'cause I'm better at everything and have more tails obviously, and I made sure the brat knew it, too, then dumped the kid's body outside the police station and finally came home. So, to summarize, Naruto exhaled one long, deep breath, clinging to his mellow by the skin of his teeth. You dissed his ancestors, you dissed his parents, you dissed your siblings, then you declared yourself the supreme lord of everything, and the kid mistook your references for animal metaphors and converted to the law of the jungle. Just out of curiosity, why was the kid unconscious at the end? An awkward chuckle spilled out of the fox's throat, half smug, half penitent. I might have overreacted just a tiny bit, and might have overdone it with the killing intent. Naruto closed his eyes and prayed for patience. It wasn't even noon yet, and he felt exhausted. Just shut up. When he lifted his lids, the maybe Uchiha boy was still there, waiting quietly, stormy eyes alight with an intensity he rarely saw in children, and yeah, Naruto could see Itachi in this brat. "What's your name, kid?" "Hibari Kyoya," was the prompt reply. "All right then. Sit down, Kyo-chan." Placing his half-eaten bento down, he patted the ground next to him, adopting a relaxed no harm, come closer little animal posture, mouth quirking at the cute frown that pulled on the boy's brows at his new nickname. "You and I are going to have a talk about acceptable speech patterns and role models." HN. Naruto choked back a laugh at the familiar sound. "That right there, that's what I'm talking about. If you don't cut that crap out, I'm gonna beat you up so bad, you'll lose half your baby teeth at once." An exhilarated glint entered the brat's gaze. Oh great, he's a battle maniac, probably a fighting prodigy, too, and Naruto modified his approach to, "I'm gonna regularly beat you up till you lose all your baby teeth and grow some fangs, but only if you let go of the..." He forced himself to make the dreaded sound. It was for the good of the kid. He had to. HN. The boy seemed to ruminate on his not really an offer, then slowly, if reluctantly, nodded. Naruto huffed out the laugh he'd been holding in ever since the brat sat down. "Words, Kyo-chan. I need words." As though pained, Kyoya ground out, "I understand, carnivore." Ah, well, kid would learn. He wasn't old enough for the Uchiha grunt to have become an intrinsic reflex yet. Naruto would stake his love of orange on ridding the kid of it. Now, time to correct Kurama's stupid blunder. An animal kingdom obsession? Really? Kurama did bashful as well as he did feelings, but at least he had the sense to stay silent. And that's another thing. You and I may know that the laws of nature eat the laws of humans for breakfast, but we live in human society, and so we must adapt to their lifestyle, which includes human interaction and using the appropriate forms of address. Got it? Kyoya appeared mutinous at that, as if accepting this type of worldview would negate Naruto's dominance over him, and thus ruin his chances of ever taking his place among the true carnivores of the world. A trickle of killing intent. A flash of red-slit eyes. The boy went rigid, a strangled sigh wrenched from his mouth on pure instinct, then peered at Naruto with undisguised awe. Curiously, eagerly, he asked, "What should I call you?" Well, there was only one response he could now give. "How about sensei?" Kurama chuckled, too pleased to even feign annoyance at Naruto's choice of a maybe Uchiha pupil. "So, you're going to take the runt as a student?" Naruto flipped him off. "Weren't you the one who told me I needed to make connections?" Chapter 7. Naruto had a problem, and his name was Hibari Kyoya. Taking on the brat was all well and good, but Naruto knew that giving him individual training without laying the groundwork for teamwork was a recipe for disaster. His own son had driven that point home. It took a chakra-sucking alien, a power-hungry scientist, and some old Rasengan-style god slaying to cure Boruto of his one-man show mentality. Kyoya needed teammates, which meant Naruto had to find him some, never mind how difficult it would be to convince two little kids to take up shinobi training from another 6-year-old kid in this day and age. He'd lucked out with Kyoya, in part because of Kurama's idiotic stunt, and in part because, as the brat had later informed him, there was apparently some kind of killer baby in Kyoya's family tree. Hence, his easy acceptance of Naruto's superiority in all things carnivore. In retrospect, he should have been less concerned about how to introduce little kids to the shinobi world, and more worried about how well they took to it. The solution practically fell into his lap, and her name was Sasagawa Kyoko. Naruto had been halfway home after school had ended on a normal Tuesday afternoon, taking a shortcut through the local park, when he spied an alarming sight. A tied-up little slip of a girl, surrounded by a bunch of rough-looking, bat-waving middle schoolers. Now that shit wasn't alright in Naruto's book. So he beat the living tar out of the morons who thought kidnapping little girls was the upstanding thing to do, and he enjoyed every minute of it. Although, he might have enjoyed it a little too much, if the way the girl flinched when he untied her was any indication. Naruto eyed the rope burns around the girl's small wrists and ankles with distaste, the desire to destroy those assholes seething anew in his blood. Then he took out some bandages and antiseptic cream. He always carried half the pharmacy with him thanks to Kyoya's overeagerness. The brat just wouldn't stay down, and gently applied them to the wounds. By the time he finished, the girl had stopped flinching, though she still winced in between sniffles and pitiful hiccups. He pasted a bright smile on his face, as if he hadn't just performed a one-sided, non-lethal massacre followed by emergency treatment like a pro, and nudged her shoulder to take her attention away from the unconscious bodies all around them. "Hey, are you alright?" A smile curved her lips, thin and tremulous, but she was no longer afraid of him. Naruto counted it as a win. Thank you for saving me. Well, that wouldn't do. He leafed through his memories until he found one that fit. Team 7 rooftop introduction it was. I'm Sawada Tsunayoshi, but you can call me Naruto. I really like ramen. My favorite color is orange. The ramen tidbit also explained his nickname, and miracle of miracles, it worked like a charm. The girl's smile broadened until it covered half her face. She dried her teary eyes with the back of her hand, then half tittered, half announced. I'm Sasagawa Kyoko. I like cake in the color yellow. Nice to meet you, Naruto-kun. Awesome. Now that the tears were over, he could extract some information out of her. His gaze swept over the bodies in a casual, dismissive manner, to remind her there was no danger and she was free to speak of her ordeal. These guys said something about your brother Kyoko-chan? A scowl wedged itself between her brows, and she bit the flesh of her lip violently. At the mention of her brother, perhaps? Well, whatever. Anger was better than self-pity. Naruto gave her an encouraging tilt of his chin. Oni-chan likes to fight a lot. They wanted to beat him up, so they took me to get him to come save me. I just wish Oni-chan would stop fighting before he gets hurt, but he never listens to me. She was breathing hard, all angry gestures and red-tinged cheeks, and wow, this girl was a real spitfire when she got passionate. Very young Sakura-like, and oh, it required a delicate touch, but this might just work. You know, Kyoko-chan, fighting isn't so bad. He smiled warmly, his old Hokage voice bleeding through, the tone he used in the speech he had to give for the academy entrance ceremony every year. Police officers fight the bad guys, army soldiers fight for their country, and there's the firefighters, too. As long as your brother knows what he's fighting for, then he's gonna be okay. Kyoko went quiet as she gazed at him, chewing on her bottom lip, caramel eyes peeking through her lashes. You really think so? Absolutely. Naruto nodded once, sure and unyielding, because if there was one thing he believed in, it was fighting for your dreams and your precious people. What he hadn't accounted for was Kyoko giggling as she beamed at him. You're really smart, Naruto-kun? I guess? Naruto coughed, the tips of his ears flushed, fingers fumbling with the short, spiky tufts of hair on the nape of his neck. Even if it came from a little girl he had just saved, it felt damn good to be called smart for a change. That settled it. He wasn't only doing this for Kyoya's sake anymore, but for hers. Kyoko deserved a chance to stand on her own 2 feet, and by the gods, Naruto was going to make sure no one would be able to take advantage of her kind nature ever again. Clearing his throat, he pushed all of his sincerity and "I'll make you a badass" kunoichi feels into his gaze and met the girl's big, liquid eyes. Listen, my friend and I trained together. If you want to help your brother, why don't you learn how to fight too? That way, you'll never get caught again, and your brother won't worry about you. You can even beat him up when he's being stubborn and not listening to you. Instead of the cliché fighting is for boys and I don't want to beat Oni-chan he half expected to hear, Kyoko's eyes grew bigger if that was even possible, lower lip trembling as a stutter of words sprang from her mouth. But Oni-chan is so strong, and I'm me. And damn if that wasn't Hinata's brand of stutter and inferiority complex before Niji got all that fate crap beaten out of him by Naruto, started treating her like family, and gave it his best to build some confidence back into her. Naruto might have been her source of inspiration, but Niji was the one who did the heavy lifting on Project Future Heiress of the Hyuga clan. It was one of his few regrets, that he hadn't realized how much his wife needed his support sooner in life. Resolve firmed, Naruto took her tiny hands in his and vowed to become Kyoko's Niji. In honor of Niji's efforts, for his wife's memory, and because Kyoya would be a right terror without teammates to reel him in when he got excited. I'll teach you how to beat him. You can definitely do it. Kyoko stared at him as if he hung the moon and the stars, insecurity leaching out of her mien to be replaced by a new sense of purpose, golden fire burning in the depths of her eyes. A feral grin split the seam of her mouth, showing rows of white teeth and the wild side of joy. Okay, she happily chirped, then kicked the nearest unconscious asshole in the nuts. Caught aback by her newfound ferocity, Naruto could only blink, and did she just channel chakra to her eyes? For a second there, yes. Might be something worth looking into. Oh. It wasn't my imagination. Good to know. Now, how to break the news to Kaoya. This is Sasagawa Kyoko, Kyo-chan. She'll be your teammate from now on. Treat her well. Kaoya stared at Naruto. Naruto stared back. Hibari Kaoya. The brat deigned to bite out after a tense, heavy silence, sparking with "Why are you doing this to me, sensei, and you'd better not make her cry" brat static in the air. Still, Kyoko smiled at the sullen boy, sparkles and rainbows and fucking unicorns frolicking in the background. Nice to meet you, Kaoya-kun. Let's be friends, any? Naruto had the Sunset of Youth Genjutsu flashbacks. Kaoya seemed to be experiencing something similar. Wait, what the hell was the brat mumbling about? Something about small animals, and was he? Oh ho ho. Our little Kyo-chan has a weakness for cute things, huh? Kurama didn't reply. He was too busy busting a gut, all but rolling on the floor. Show her how to warm up, Kyo-chan. Only half the set of each for Kyoko-chan though, cause she's just starting out. The goal was to test his theory, not torture the poor girl. The brat grabbed her by the hand without so much as a "by your leave," dragging her to the exercise mats. But Naruto could tell he was very, very careful with his strength. And indeed, every time Kyoko messed up, he would dutifully correct her, only for the girl to smile that fairy smile and thank him and Kaoya to pretend he wasn't totally entranced by it. Naruto was never going to let the little brat live this down. Man, I so need to buy a camera. Yes, the fox choked out, still laughing madly. Yes, you do. Naruto was on the hunt for the last member of his team, gaze scanning the schoolyard. Next to him, Kyoko was winning against Kaoya's meat obsession by smiling and slipping vegetables into his bento while the brat was dazzled. It was hilarious to watch when he spotted the kid. It's like the second coming of Sai. The way he naturally missed social cues, the way he held himself apart from the crowd but desperately wanted to fit in, that emptiness in his eyes, that stilted quirking of lips. His super intuition hummed a mournful note. What's he really feeling, Kurama? That is one sad little brat. The fox slanted his head to the side, thoughtful and solemn for once. I'm talking real deep pain and grief here. He's crying inside, probably lost someone close to him recently. That was all Naruto needed to hear. Leaving the kids to their food war, he made his way to the boy all stealth-like to fuck with the kid's situational awareness. He had a good feeling about this one. It was in the eyes. Yo! Instead of jumping at the jarring sound, like normal kids would, the boy stilled, then laughed the most fake laugh in the history of fake laughs. Sai would have been proud. Where did you come from? From over there. Naruto pointed at the spot the kids were sitting at. See them? Those are my friends, Kyo-chan and Kyoko-chan. We're a team. Want to join us? Interest shone through those dark, glassy eyes. A faint, flickering light, but it was enough for now. There we go. Little kids shouldn't have such empty eyes. Or the danzos of this world would exploit the fuck out of it, and Naruto would die before he let that happen to this kid. Like a game? What kind of team? Why not? For some people, life was a game. Naruto puffed out his chest, a manic grin bisecting his cheeks, and did a little Jiraiya jig. Laughter was good for the soul, and this kid needed it like crazy. Yup, we're Shinobi, the most kick-ass team you've ever seen. So what say you? Will you join the awesome that is us? The boy's laughter lost its grating pitch, became softer, more genuine. His stare moved from Naruto's grinning face to the kid's lunch spot and back again. He inhaled deeply, squared his shoulders and nodded once. Sure, sounds like fun. I'm Yamamoto Takashi. Sawada Tsunayoshi, but my friends call me Naruto. Nice to meet you, Take-chan. You've got good instincts for a civilian-born kid. Takashi snorted with laughter, but he seemed quietly pleased at Naruto's words, as he should. Coming from him, that was a grade A compliment. You're a funny guy, Naruto, but I like you. Like I said, good instincts. You'll go far in life, Take-chan. Kyoko welcomed the new addition to the team with brilliant smiles, and she was all for celebrating with dinner at Takashi's father's sushi restaurant when the kid suggested it. Kaoya, who had long since lost the food war, not so much. Naruto gave him a week before he caved under the cute factor. Kurama bet he wouldn't last 3 days. Naruto had assumed since his team was now full, he'd be done with recruitment. He was sadly mistaken. It was the next morning after team formation, and Naruto had taken maybe 2 steps out of his home, when a hurricane nearly swept him off his feet. What the hell? He blinked, and it was coming back. The hurricane turned back and came straight at him. Then it turned into a kid. He caught one glimpse at the kid's silvery white hair and cold gray eyes and all that fucking energy before he suffered something far worse than the sunset of youth genjutsu flashbacks. He would not make the connection. Would not make. Not. Illegitimate love child of the porn addict and the green beast. Fuck you, Kurama. Ironically enough, Kurama was the only being in Konoha who ever acknowledged Guy's self-proclaimed moniker. Stealing himself, since the fox had made it fucking legit, Naruto looked at the kid who was now bent at the waist, the perfect 90-degree bow just like, nope, no way, can't do this. Thank you for saving my sister and being Kyoko's friend. Please take care of her to the extreme. Ma, no problem, kid. Shit, did he just pull a Kakashi-sensei on reflex? Next thing he knew they'd be having rock-paper-scissors contests. This kid was messing with his head big time. You're Kyoko-chan's brother then? Straightening up, the brat shot him a huge grin, and Naruto braced himself for the coming horror. It never came. Huh. Guess only Kyoko inherited the genjutsu-inducing smiles in the family. Which now made perfect. Nope, not going there again. The kid's volume, on the other hand. Sasagawa Ryohei, since you're Kyoko's friend, your family now, Sawada. Call me Oni-san. Like hell. Yeah, no. You can be Ryo-chan. And Naruto really wanted to leave it at that, but then he had to take a good, long look at the kid. Because he knew Guy, and he knew Lee, and there was no way this kid wasn't pushing himself past his limits, and there was no teacher to tell him off, and holy shit, kid, you're running on willpower and chakra boosts, the hurricane makes sense now. Come with Kyoko-chan to practice this afternoon. Was out of his mouth before he could stop it. Might as well go on. Your extreme training is stressing your body so much that your chakra is compensating by enhancing your muscles and tendons and what have you. Not only is that dangerous for a novice, but unless you're a taijutsu master or a medic nin with good control who knows anatomy inside out, it's counterproductive and does more damage in the long run. I'm gonna set you up with a new training schedule, alright? Ryohei's expression said he understood maybe 1.5 sentences in all that, but his emphatic nodding compensated for the rest. I'll extremely be there. Chapter 8. Ryohei's inclusion to the Chibi Shinobi Training Brigade wasn't as smooth as Takeshi's, but Kyoya hadn't made much of a fuss about it because, in truth, the boy was more of an extreme extra than an integral part of the team. Naruto had put together a reasonable training plan for the kid, forced him to rest for a few days to undo the stress on his chakra system, then let him loose to terrorize Namamori's population and wildlife alike from dawn to dusk. He'd have been Lee's dream student, and everyone else's nightmare. Takeshi might have been too cheerful for Kyoya's tastes, and too fake, too hurt inside, though they were all working on fixing that. It was an uphill battle every day, but the boy never turned a spar down, and always gave as good as he got. There was a vast well of potential in this kid, a fascination with sharp, shiny objects, an ungodly hand-eye coordination, and a hell of a competitive spirit. He'd have made a terrifying Kirin. All Naruto had to do was to put a bakken in his hand and have him learn his family kenjutsu style from his dad once he whipped the kid into shape. His father had taken Naruto aside after introductions were made, looked him dead in the eye, gazed keen and assessing, judging, then bowed his head and entrusted his son to Naruto's care. Age means nothing for you and me. Like, he had said, lips curled wryly, dark circles under his eyes, jaded by a profession that left things behind, still mourning the loss of his wife. Naruto had dipped his chin in respect, from one killer to another, because what Tsuyoshi had truly tested for was Naruto's resolve, if he was prepared to kill for his son's safety, if he was willing to value Takeshi's life over someone else's. There was always a price to pay for people like them. Kyoko was in a league of her own. She had a real future in infiltration, what with her misleading appearance, natural affinity for genjutsu, and budding spy network among the kiddies in their school and the grandmas in her neighborhood. Naruto hadn't yet settled on what taijutsu style would suit her, and her stamina was shit for the time being, but give her a few years and she'd become the kind of kunoichi the ANBU Corps would have fought tooth and nail to recruit. Genjutsu was scary as fuck when mastered, Not to mention, Naruto suspected she might have the chakra control for medical training, too. Now Kyoya, the less said about Kyoya, the better. Naruto was half convinced he could have thrown him at the Jubi, and the little brat would have survived longer than seasoned Iwanin. That brat was a monster. Speed, power, precision, control, he had it all. In spades. The sole thing he lacked was self-restraint, which was also why Naruto hadn't started him on ninjutsu training just yet, focusing on weapons handling instead. Arming that little hellion was overkill. If he added Katan Jutsu to his repertoire? Sage save them all, he'd burn the whole world down. That little beast was slated to be the next Itachi. How had Iruka-sensei ever managed a whole class of ninja kids? Naruto had his hands full with training this crazy bunch, and there were only 4 of them. Or that was how it was supposed to be. Problem was, the kids didn't get the memo. Kyoko, the little angel, started the doom of Vongola as Naruto would later dub it, and what Kyoko started, Kyoya, the little hell spawn, always finished. Because they were an inseparable pair, these two. Best goddamn teamwork Naruto had ever witnessed in a male-female shinobi partnership. Where she was subtle, he was blunt. Where she hit with illusions, he hit with steel. Where she fucked up the brain, he fucked up the body. Together, as mid-level genin, they could take on a B-rank nuke and win. Worse, they would trash the poor fool, break their mind, break their body, ruin their reputation, and rob them blind. If they didn't end up happily married with 2 adorable, homicidal, genjutsu-smiling kids, Naruto would give up his love of ramen. To make a long story short, Kyoko showed up in practice one day, a dark-haired girl in tow, and bade them to gather around for introductions, fingers haltingly signing in the code Naruto had been teaching them behind her back. Civilian. Friendly. Smart. Join. Team. This is Hana-chan. She wanted to know what we do after school and meet my friends. And wouldn't take no for an answer was implied, because Naruto had hammered discretion into Kyoko's clever little mind. As Kyoko introduced the boys, Hana studied them, one by one, gaze intent, lingering first on Naruto, then on Kyoya. Good observational and threat assessment skills, Naruto would give her that. Chirukwa Hana. Nice to meet you. I hear you're playing ninja. Dubious, flatly intoned, and a little accusing. Interesting. Girl must have realized they were not playing the ninja game as the teachers and half the parents were inclined to believe. Adults usually let them be with nary a word, thinking they'd grow out of that phase sooner or later. But not this girl. So Naruto gave it to her straight. And Hana stayed. She was the sensible sort, too, that there was a despairing lack of those in this group might have swayed Naruto's decision just a little in her favor, like a bizarre mix of Shizen and Ino. Great with adults, terrible with kids. Her tongue was sharper than a kunai, and she used it often, with deadly accuracy. Pity that her mission in life was to be Kyoko's self-appointed guardian, because the Kyo duo was already a thing when she joined. Hana didn't have a chance in hell of stopping the unstoppable Kyo duo, but boy, did she try. Then, not to be outdone by his better half, Kyoya showed up in practice one day, a dark-haired boy in tow, and didn't even have the decency to make the introductions himself. My name is Kyusuke Tetsuya. Pleased to meet you. The boy bowed from the waist with quiet dignity, the transition fluid and well-practiced, then fixed his gaze on Naruto and executed an even deeper, more respectful bow. I would very much like to join Kyo-san's team, sensei. Wow, polite. Where in the world did Kyo-chan find this kid? They're like polar opposites, was Naruto's first thought then. He even knows the chain of command. If he's as good at organizing stuff as he is at following protocol, I'm set for life. No more fucking paperwork. Tetsuya, Naruto decided right there and then, was a kami-given gift. He grinned at the boy, a vicious curl of lips, all blood on teeth, the kind of mad grin one wore as he stood victorious over the corpse of his enemy. Welcome to the team, Tetsu-chan. If his decision was more based on his future paperwork-free utopia than the kid's future mental health. Well, no one had to know. Kyoya knew. He wore the same grin when he met Tetsu. Tetsuya stumbled out of his picture-perfect bow, blinking slowly, as if he recognized that grin but had no idea of its importance. Hana, quicker on the uptake, seemed to put 2 and 2 together and come to the right conclusion. She patted Tetsuya's back in mute understanding and comradeship. That girl was one smart cookie. Ah, teamwork brings a tear to my eye. Naruto gave them a thumbs up. Tetsuya cautiously returned it, whereas Hana made a very rude gesture little girls should not really know. Chapter 9. My relative wants to meet you, sensei. To inquire about your qualifications. Naruto was aware of Kyoya's mini shadow long before the brat opened his mouth to confirm it, but all the little details hidden in these 2 sentences told him a lot about their relationship. How he paused before admitting kinship, the way the syllables rolled off his tongue when he spoke his title, that low, raspy inflection, writhing with violent, possessive undertones. Kyoya was displeased that his relative was intruding on their training time, and incensed that he was questioning Naruto's eligibility as his teacher. Ruffling the boy's hair, Naruto cast his gaze on the 3rd tree to his left and chuckled. Then he can come down from that tree and introduce himself. A small, red-clad form detached itself from the tree to land in front of them with one graceful leap. Naruto lowered his gaze to meet dark eyes and a face so similar to Kyoya's that it was bloody uncanny. The resemblance was freaking him out more than the stranger's age, because that kind of serene expression had never graced Kyoya's features. And ooh, this must be the famous killer baby of the Hibari clan. Damn, he had the best poker face Naruto had ever seen on a toddler. That took some real skill to pull off. He inwardly whistled in appreciation, then nudged Kurama for help. He feels curious, kind of impressed, maybe a little grateful? Kurama grumbled rather than spoke, seeming to share Kyoya's irritation with this human, and nothing annoyed the fox more than taking the side of the Uchiha spawn as he had taken to calling the boy. Oh, this was hilarious. Whatever this sneaky killer baby was, Naruto already liked him just for that. He also couldn't help but add oil to the fire. Is the big, bad fox stumped by the teeny-tiny human? Gigantic jaws clamped down on empty air as Naruto danced away laughing. Trying to eat me? Really? I don't deal with positive emotions, you know, and he's damn hard to read. No, wait, there's something else underneath I can't quite. Oh, I got it. Tired, like bone-deep weary, some traces of old festering resentment with a side of betrayal. He hides it well though, similar to the porn addict, the classic A and B you feel after years of emotional disconnect. Only Kurama could deliver such depressing facts with elation to his voice. Human suffering was, apparently, too insignificant in comparison with his triumph at solving the puzzle this human presented. I'd say this human is a lot older than his appearance would have you believe, and someone screwed him over to make him look like that. Naruto sighed, unsurprised. Yeah, I was hoping it was some sort of henge or seal-based disguise, but it's really not. Damn, now I feel sorry for the guy. Hello? The voice that spilled from the toddler's throat didn't match the age of the body. It was mature, silk-soft and soothing to the ears. My name is Fawn, Kyoya's great-uncle. I apologize for my actions. I did not mean to deceive, merely observe. Kyoya has told me much about you, Naruto-san. His eyes wandered over to the spot where the kids were going through their daily kata, glinting with approval and hints of mirth, as he appraised Kyoko's panting form. And Kyoko-san? I bet he has. Naruto laughed, ruffling the brat's hair again. Don't sweat it. I'm not offended or anything, probably would have done the same in your place. Nice to meet you, Fawn-san. Kyoya stoically bore his sensei's affection while glaring daggers at Fawn, as if to say only he gets to do that and try it, and I'll end you and leave already. But his animosity was like water sliding off a duck's back. Naruto was amazed at the palpable aura of I don't give a fuck what you think as Fawn inclined his head at him, smiled and said cool as a fucking cucumber. Likewise. Yup, he liked this guy and his monkey? Whoa, back up. What the hell? Where did the baby monkey come from? How? When? Naruto didn't even see it coming for fuck's sake. It was Kyoya's struggle under his grip that alerted him to the fact he hadn't yet released the boy's hair due to his shock. Coughing into his fist, Naruto shot the brat an apologetic glance under Fawn's amused stare, and yeah, that calm bastard had done this on purpose. He was definitely Naruto's kind of guy. They'd be bros in no time, he could see it, and all the pranks that would follow, nobody would suspect a toddler. Oh, sorry about that. It's been a while since I've seen a mean animal, and it took me by surprise. Plus, your monkey's a dead ringer for my first student's baby summon. His name is Lychee. Fawn said at the same time as Kyoya's head snapped up, an excited, demented gleam that promised trouble in his eye, and he all but crowed with delight. Mean animal? Summon? Shit. Why oh why had he said that? Naruto knew it was bad when even the monkey seemed to be laughing at his misfortune. How was this his life? Kyoya never let this go. Still, he could maybe postpone it? Yeah, stalling, great tactic, let's go with that. Look, Kyo-chan, can we maybe talk about this later? Eyes fever bright, Kyoya gave him a curt nod, then marched off to practice with the other brats. To share the news and cement his doom, his super intuition evilly purred, or maybe that was Kurama fucking with his head, but not before he threw over his shoulder. I will hold you to that, sensei. Awesome. Naruto groaned as he watched him go, 80% sure this would end in tears. His or the kid's was the real question. Fan hummed softly, wistfully. He listens to you. There were many things Naruto could have riposted to that. Really? What gave you that idea? Weren't you here just now? Or did I imagine the whole thing? Please tell me that I did. You didn't. It happened. It will happen again, and it will be glorious, Kurama, the sadistic asshole, purred. He knew it, the fox was so fucking with him. But he understood what Fan meant, so he went with. Course he does. Kyo-chan might be a little monster on the battlefield, but he's a good kid and knows to listen when it matters. Plopping himself down beside the man-toddler, Naruto tilted his head in the kid's direction. Kyoya was showing Kyoko how to improve their kick combo where she went low, and he went high, and gods help the poor soul who took that head on. See that? He's got his head screwed on straight, and his heart's in the right place. You won't find a little brat more protective of his precious people than our Kyo-chan. You taught him that. Fan smiled at him, something bittersweet to the set of his mouth, but pleased all the same. You gave him people to care for. He then stood, only to bow before him, long and deep, the kind of formal bow Hyuga Hayashi had once given him, right before he beat him half to death for getting his daughter pregnant 2 weeks before the wedding. Hinata had told him it was supposed to show the utmost gratitude. Naruto had sure felt the Juken strikes more than the gratitude. On behalf of my family, and as Kyoya's previous instructor, please allow me to thank you for what you have done for my great nephew. You have my gratitude, Naruto-san. Hey now, no need to be so formal. Still kind of leery of this particular bow, Naruto tried to get the man out of it as fast as possible. Like you said, you're Kyo-chan's family? No matter what that brat says, if he didn't feel you were family, he wouldn't have brought you along. Or even talked to you about us at all. We're all friends here. It was also why he hadn't censored his words and personality from the get-go. Fan hid his mouth behind his sleeve, chuckling wryly, that subtle tension beneath his skin dissipating at last. Yes, Kyoya tends to be like that. He takes after my sister. That must be one scary old lady. I would not call her that to her face. She gets even scarier when you do, right? Man, my old granny was like that too. Scariest woman you'd ever meet on a bad day, but all warm goo inside. She must have been an interesting woman. Interesting is one word for it. Now that he'd gotten the man loose and relaxed, Naruto decided it was time to tackle the issue he'd been mulling over since Kurama's psych eval. Speaking of her, she was also one of the best healers in the world. I don't have an ounce of her talent, but I can at least manage a basic diagnostic scan and go from there. I ain't one to beat about the bush, so I'll just come out and say it. Would you like me to perform one? Noting the slight stiffening of Fan's spine, he let the man see the truth in his eyes, the remnants of a seal gone right and so wrong. The I've been where you are and it sucks empathy, but spoke with cold, hard facts. There might not even be a solution to your condition if you haven't found one yet, but it doesn't hurt to let me try. Plus, I've got a consultant who knows chakra inside out. Together, we might be able to do something about your condition, but I won't give you empty promises. Fan stared at him quietly, intently. Then, please do. All right. Directing the man to lie down, he placed his hands on Fan's chest, right below the red pacifier he was suspecting to be the true issue. It'll feel a little intrusive at first, so please don't fight me. Fan nodded, silently observing the fiery orange chakra that erupted from Naruto's hands, gaze widening when it morphed into a fiery cheery yellow with only traces of orange in it. Naruto had no idea why the color change occurred, or why chakra had a color scheme at all, but he'd come to some conclusions after unlocking the kid's chakra. Despite the different colors, they were all fire-natured, so he gave up and dubbed it Fire Chakra. Strangely enough though, each color had its own specialty. Red was so potent that it didn't just burn things, it actually disintegrated. Hell, it even burned pure chakra. Hana was having real fun with it, the little pyromaniac. Yellow was better suited for medical ninjutsu and physical enhancement. Ryohei had been constantly emitting it before Naruto got involved in his training. He didn't have the control for medical stuff yet, The little brat could not, for the life of him, sit still to learn, but he was a pro at buffing himself up. Blue was some dangerous shit, in Naruto's opinion, because it fucking drained chakra and put people into comas if they were hit with a large dose of the stuff. The thief that broke into Take Sushi one fateful night could attest to that. Takashi would be one scary motherfucker in the future. Green was the most befuddling color since it was awesome for lightning and earth jutsu. Naruto couldn't understand it. They were supposed to be opposing elements, but it fit Tetsuya's personality to a T. That boy was a steady rock and quick as lightning when it came to the Kyo duo fucking things up. The police had him on speed dial by now. Indigo was perfect for genjutsu, which was ironic because, after Red, it was the second most straightforward of the bunch. It had one function, and that was illusions. Kyoko kicked ass with it. Sometimes, Naruto swore she even wove real illusions. Then again, he sucked at genjutsu. If Kurama wasn't his partner, he'd have been in deep shit during spars with her in a few years. Purple was just bizarre, because it was really, and Naruto meant really, diverse. It could do clones, it could do the Akimichi specials, it could do barriers, it was insane, and thus it was perfect for Kyoya. Because that brat was insane too. Orange might not have specific uses like the others, but it made everything better. Like, seriously, every jutsu performed was guaranteed to be flawless if there was orange in it. Naruto always had to defend his love for orange as an awesome ninja color to all the non-believers in Konoha, but he was now vindicated. Take that, suckers. All the kids could do two colors, though they usually stuck to their primary, and Naruto could manage most, except indigo and blue. Kurama was in love with red. It was a match made in hell, also hilarious, since it was the most Uchiha of them all. And Naruto told him so every single time, only for Kurama to cite spoils of war as his justification for loving it to death. Fan was red, Naruto discovered once he slipped into his chakra system, and powerful, potent red at that. He'd burn Hana's red to ashes in seconds along with the girl herself. Problem was, his chakra seemed to be paying alimony to the pacifier every second of every hour. The toddler body was the most visible consequence of that. What do you think, Kurama? That red pacifier is an abomination, but it probably serves an important function we currently know nothing about. If we destroy it, things could get ugly. The fact that it sucks chakra is a bad sign. Kurama's face twisted into a murderous scowl. Remember last time we dealt with something like that, as if he could ever forget. Fucking Otsutsuki, he spat. No offense to your old man, but his family was full of delusional psychos. So we need to, find another source of chakra for the damn thing. That would be the safest solution. The fox nodded, settling back down lest his riled-up chakra affect the scan. A self-regenerating chakra source, to be exact. Easier said than done. Do we know any seals that do that? Naruto rifled through his memories. He'd taken up few in jutsu after the war, but he wasn't an expert by any means. Identifying seals was child's play, sure, and he could do a surprising variety of them, but designing original seals? Yeah, no. Kurama was leagues above him in that field. All I'm coming up with is Shikaka's tea kettle and Gyuki's pot, but those things just contained an ungodly amount of chakra. It would be a temporary solution, though. If we filled it up with enough chakra, it would hold for years before it needed to be recharged. It could work. Kurama shrugged, then returned to murderous scowling so fast, he almost gave Naruto whiplash. Still, you should find the creator to learn more about this thing before you try anything. And by find, he meant slow roast him with red fire chakra, cut him into tiny little pieces, and feed him to the fox. Naruto was totally on board with that. Yeah, I've got a Baijidama with that asshole's name on it. Wrapping up his scan, he prepared to slip out of the man's chakra, only for his orange to flare up, overpower his yellow, and start clinging. Naruto cursed. Orange fire chakra was awesome, yeah, but it always pulled this needy bullshit. The kids didn't mind. They actually liked the feeling, but Naruto was getting tired of this reaction. Oh, don't mind that, nothing harmful, happens all the time with the kids. My chakra kinda likes your chakra. He quickly blurted out, in case Fan got the wrong impression he was messing with his chakra, only to blanch as he realized how his choice of words could also give the wrong impression. Shit, that came out wrong. What I meant. Wait, why did he cover half his face with his sleeve again? Was that snickering? His horrified expression turned deadpan faster than Kurama's 2 minutes ago. You're laughing at me. Fan didn't even have the decency to deny it. Naruto could now see the family resemblance all too clearly. Yes, but do forgive me. Your terminology greatly amused me. You have a better one? As a matter of fact. Okay, that was it. The bastard was now asking for it. Naruto opened his mouth and bellowed. Oi brats, gather round. Fonsan's gonna explain chakra theory to us. Isn't it kind of him? Give him a round of applause. He even demonstrated by clapping, all the while giving Fan a shit-eating grin. Not so amused now, huh? If deadpan could mimic calm as far as expressions went, then Fan had perfected it. You are a terrible person. And don't you forget it. Before the kids reached them, he leaned in to whisper. We'll talk about your condition later, yeah? Come over for dinner, I've got things to discuss. And that was how they learned about flames and harmony. Naruto still liked his terminology better. Fire chakra sounded less lame than the dying wolf flames of the sky, less of a mouthful, too. His dad, with his atrocious naming sense, would have fucking loved it. Kyoya, of course, followed his example, if only to spite his great-uncle. Chapter 10. D-Ranks, Naruto realized as he watched Granny Mikoto pinch and squeeze Kyoya's cheeks for the 5th time, were the real reason Jonin-sensei volunteered to take the thankless job of teaching a pack of moody preteens. Perched upon a tree, he lazily turned another page of his Italian coursebook. Amidst his phone calls were full of foreign-sounding noise, plus he was in desperate need of a sane hobby, soaking up the grunts of young labor and misery below. Distracting the little brats from his stupid neen-animal/baby summon slip of the tongue by dangling the idea of shinobi missions in front of their cute, eager faces had been a stroke of genius. Nanamori's sweet grandmas were delighted to have help with their gardens, and grandbabies, and lost pets, and grocery shopping. His cheeky brats suffered a daily dose of their own medicine, and Naruto was getting the entertainment he'd been sorely missing. No, it was all for a good cause, really. What had his useless father called it again? Yes, an important formative experience. He had even split them into 2 official teams. Team A, for awesome, consisted of the Kyo duo plus Takeshi, and were heavy assault frontliners with a touch of espionage. Team B4, Brains and Brawn, was made up of the anti-Kyo duo plus Ryohei, and specialized in tactics, intelligence, and sabotage. Kids had eaten it all up, until the true nature of D-rank missions cruelly revealed itself. His camera had been working overtime since that glorious morning. Naruto had so far filled up half an album, a fact he never failed to remind them. Their attempts at stealing it were adorable, good practice, too. Hana's and Tetsuya's combined efforts, especially. These two had a knack for devious, convoluted plans that ranged from plying him with ramen to divert his attention, to henching into his camera and substituting with it, to breaking into his home in the dead of night. It was hella nostalgic, and like Team 7 before them, doomed to fail in hilariously embarrassing ways. He knew, though, something's gotta give. D-ranks were fine for building bonds and cohesion in genin teams, but his brats had that in excess, not to mention half of them were edging towards Chunin-level competency and battle prowess. If he didn't move them up to C-rank soon, there would be spectacular explosions all around, starting with Kyoya's temper. What kind of C-ranks was Naruto's issue? He'd have unleashed them on the local Yakuza, if he hadn't used them as a means of venting for years. Nowadays, the scum of Namamori took one look at him and ran in the other direction screaming for mommy. No way would the fucking cowards sit still for the kids to play with them. Maybe they could be good for tracking experience, but once caught it would be game over and pleas for mercy again. Where was the challenge in that? On a brighter note, crime was at an all-time low in peaceful Namamori, but nobody could explain why. The police were too terrified of the Kyo duo to put a mark on their record. All reports were read once, given performance ratings, which Tetsuya collected after damage control, then destroyed with extreme prejudice. Naruto had been thinking of consulting Fan when the man inadvertently solved his issue by sending 2 mafiosi to his doorstep. The last thing Naruto expected to find when he returned home after Granny Mikoto's roses had been pruned and watered was 2 foreigners in classy Italian suits just chilling on his front porch. Silently, he appraised the pair, taking note of everything that stood out about them. You think they're Vongola? A smirk tugged at the corners of his mouth. Maybe Nano Timo came back for more, Kurama snorted. Could be. I detect no ill intent at least. Hello, Naruto-kun, I am Arya of the Giglio Nero Famiglia. The dark-haired woman with the orange pacifier cheerfully said, standing up and smoothing down her skirt, as if she hadn't been waiting for him to come home for who knew how long. Then, without missing a beat, she shoulder-checked the man beside her. Hard. And this is Gamma, my subordinate. The man with the slicked-back blonde hair, now identified as Gamma, made an aborted move to rub his abused arm. A hushed litany of basta, violent woman, and why do you always go for the arm and you're gonna cripple me one of these days, escaping his lips. So, not Vongola. And if they weren't Timoteo's associates, and were aware of his nickname, they could only be Von's acquaintances, I presume? She snapped her fingers, winking at him. Got it in one. May we come in? That depends. Naruto hummed low in his throat, dredging up what little information Von had shared regarding his fellow Arcoleno. You're the one with the foresight, right? Aria's smile widened. Von told you about that, huh? In response to the confirmation of her abilities, Naruto's face blanked. I will let you into my home on one condition. Eyes boring into hers, he said, grave and 100% serious. Promise to never ask me to father your children. Because Naruto remembered Cheyenne, and the brainless promise his teenage self had made her, and Hinata's saccharine smile when the priestess showed up one day to demand he fulfill it, and the nasty cat fight and 2 months of blue balls that ensued, and that had been a clusterfuck of epic proportions. So he ignored the pair's gaping jaws and carried on as if the sky was blue, the sea was wet, and Naruto was a prime candidate to be her baby daddy. You need a daughter to inherit the gift and continue the line, right? Well, this guy ain't gonna be it, nah. No fucking way. It took 2 whole minutes for Arya to gather her wits. Cute, but you're not really my type. She drawled out, tone thick with sarcasm, but not before sneaking a loaded glance at Gamma. Heh, I see how it is. It was Naruto's turn to wink at her, sly and insinuating all kinds of things. Come on in. Kasen would love some female company. You'll stay for lunch, right? We'd love to. Arya laughed, following him inside, a sputtering, red-faced Gamma on her heels. After introducing them to Nana, who was indeed ecstatic to host them for lunch, with no questions asked, the poor, mind-fucked woman, he'd get to the bottom of this if it was the last thing he did, Naruto led them to his room. So, setting the tray down, he poured 3 cups of green tea and sat cross-legged on the cushion opposite from them. I'm guessing you're here about that thing around your neck. What can you tell me about its creator? Arya blew on her cup, taking a slow sip. Not much, I'm afraid. Unlike the other Arcoleno, I inherited the pacifier directly from my mother, so I never even met the guy. But what I can tell you about is the history of the Triniset. She then launched into a ridiculous story about the foundation of the world and the balance that must be maintained and the rings of power that made Naruto want to face palm at the stupidity of it all. Like, who the fuck goes I'ma make me some rings and enslave some humans? Yes, that is the answer. Sauron, that's who. Kurama quipped with the air of someone who had read that story before and rooted for the villain. Naruto gave in and face-bombed. I'm glad you've been expanding your literary horizons, really I am. It's a great improvement from the dark days of late-night talk shows. But now's not the time, Kurama. Whatever you're thinking of doing is going to work. It's why we're here, actually. Arya was saying, eyes too blue and vast like the ocean and gazing beyond the present. I've seen it, the future, and it's beautiful. A sigh filled with longing slipped past her lips. Don't know when it'll happen, but it will, that much I can tell you. Then she smiled an unbearably tender smile, and locked those deep blue eyes with his. I wanted to be the first to thank you for giving me the chance to spare my future daughter from this curse. Yeah, sure, you're welcome, I guess. Naruto drew his gaze away, uncomfortable as hell, because he hadn't even done anything yet. The moment was way too emotional for him. He had to break it somehow, and all his mind could come up with was, but just to be clear here, that would be the daughter I'm not going to father, yeah? 'Cause I've got enough kids as it is, and I didn't even get to enjoy making them. The sound of porcelain hitting the floor echoed dully in the long-ass silence that followed. Gamma turned to Arya, radiating disbelief and a sort of futile hope. Are you absolutely sure this kid is our only chance of breaking the curse, boss? Excuse me? Naruto hissed, mock offended and playing it up because this guy had "please tease me" written all over his face, and who was he to deny him? I'll have you know I've been pulling miracles out of my ass, ending wars, rescuing princesses, saving worlds, beating gods, and kicking ass long before you were even a twinkle in your daddy's eye, kid. Flabbergasted, Gamma stared at him while the seconds dragged on, as if unable to reconcile what he was hearing with what he was seeing, then must have realized he'd never win against Naruto's brand of insanity, and it was better to just agree with the crazy kid. If you say so, he muttered. I do say so. Naruto raised his chin, magnanimous like a king indulging a simple-minded commoner, which sent Gamma into another round of sputtering. Man, this guy made it so easy. Now about this Famiglia thing. What can you tell me about Vongola? It is a Famiglia, yeah? Funnily enough, that served to resurrect Gamma's fighting spirit. Your daddy didn't tell you! It was one part smug, one part bemused, and yeah, Naruto would be feeling the same in his place. Still didn't mean he'd let him get away with it. Hit a nerve there, huh? He chuckled and, for maximum effect, gave them an inside joke they'd never get in a million years. But to answer your question, Imitsu lives in an ideal world of polar bears and tuna fish where the answer to life's problems is mindfuckery and shitty seals. Gamma just gazed at him, speechless. Huh, maybe he broke him? Arya was the one to articulate what they were both thinking. What? It'll take too long to explain, but let's just say he ain't too keen on talkin' family business when he's home. A different kind of incomprehension entered her gaze. Naruto knew it well, hell, he had patented that look. It was his default you are shitting me look, reserved for all things Imitsu. Well, Vongola's down 3 heirs by now, so he might have to soon. Brows knitted together, she licked her lips, probably debating where to start. Enrico was shot to death a couple of years ago, Massimo was drowned last month, and nobody really knows what happened to Xanxus 5 years ago, but rumors are flying about a coup that ended badly. Federico is the only one left, and he was Nono's favorite to begin with. With Imitsu and C-Def and out of the running, you're next in line if Federico bites the dust, and with the way heirs keep dying one after another. Naruto's eyes narrowed at the implications. You think it's an inside job? Gamma, who seemed to have recovered both his voice box and nerve, scoffed. Vongola's security can't be that bad. Arya simply nodded. The Varia were pretty pissed when their boss mysteriously vanished. Those guys worshipped the ground Xanxus walked on, you know. Plus, Nono's been gutting them these past few years, like cutting their budget, restricting their missions, barring them from attending official functions and petty stuff like that. They're supposed to be Vongola's elite independent assassination squad, but there hasn't been much independence lately. Well, when she put it like that, the Uchiha might have been a clan of high-handed assholes, don't even start, Kurama, but there was a reason they were planning to revolt. So, they're more like leashed and muzzled attack dogs now. Smart move, that. Gamma snorted. You said it, kid? For the first time, though, he smiled at him, a wry twist of lips. Welcome to the Mafia. Lunch proceeded naturally after that. Nana made lasagna once she heard Italians. That woman was a 5-star chef, and it was a total riot, too, with Nana overfilling their plates and chirping about how you're such a cute couple and so when's the wedding and you'll make beautiful babies, Gamma's face being redder than the bolognese sauce, Arya's winks behind his back, and Naruto singing the praises of D-ranks. Are your kids any good? Arya asked out of the blue in the middle of dessert. It was the reflective gleam in her eyes that alerted Naruto to the coming opportunity. He'd seen that gleam in potential clients for half his life, after all. You're welcome to come and see them in action. Why? Well, she began haltingly, as if choosing her words after careful consideration. Giglio Nero is an old name in our world, so we get the respect we're due, but we're actually a pretty small famiglia. If I hadn't been the Sky Arcoleno, we'd have been dragged into territory disputes ages ago. It always pays to keep your ear to the ground, though. Just in case, you know. I hear you. Naruto raised his glass in agreement, aware of where she was going with this and willing to be the first to say it. Nobody suspects 11-year-old kids of espionage. Exactly. A grin lit up her face at his quick deduction. So, I might be interested in hiring your services for the summer months. Nothing too dangerous, scoping out the area, intel gathering, some undercover work, that sort of thing. Maybe some security detail, too, if what I see of your kids impresses me. We can set up a contract and everything. Who knows, it might even lead to an alliance later on. And oh, there was the political angle he'd been half expecting, too. Better make sure they were on the same page, though. You want an alliance with me, not Vongola. Arya's grin shone brilliantly across her face, as if he had just made her day. You getting in with the Mafia, Giglio Nero stays neutral, and Gamma can show your kids the ropes. What? Gamma all but upended the table as he shot to his feet. Placing his hands on Arya's shoulders, he stared into her eyes with the face of a man who had just been sentenced to life. Boss, no, please. You can't do this to me. That face made Naruto's day. A smirk crooked his mouth as he sealed the man's fate. It'll be good practice, you know, for the future. I hate you, kid. And once Arya saw his brats, all she had to say was, I'll mail you the contract, Naruto-kun. Behind them, Gamma let out a wordless cry of horror. Naruto's smirk grew to a visceral grin as he shook Arya's hand. Pleasure doing business with you. 1 week later, said contract arrived with the added bonus of tickets to a place called Mafia Land. Arya's postscript explained how it was a Mafia-only resort, and a small token of her gratitude for foreseen events. For a moment, Naruto wondered if that place was built with shinobi brats in mind, but oh, well, not his problem. Pack up your things, brats. We're going on a field trip. Mafia Land would never be the same. Chapter 11. Welcome to Mafia Land. Please state your name, the number of your party, and famiglia or affiliation. Naruto stared at the woman blankly. Her Japanese was too perfect, her smile too plastic, her voice too even. Never mind the fact she had figured out his nationality before he'd even reached her desk. Who knew what else she managed to glean when he did speak? What the hell? Was she even human? This shit was on par with the instant profiling only veteran TNI specialists could pull off. He was now glad Arya had taken the initiative to provide fake documentation for him and the kids as a just-in-case. Gotta love her intuitive just-in-cases. Uzumaki Naruto. 7 including myself. We are affiliated with the Giglio Nero Famiglia. Thank you. Please wait a moment. Was uttered with only the merest twitch of facial muscles. Impressed, Naruto signed discreetly for Kyoko to take notes, and by the time the woman had processed their information, the girl's cute smile had transformed into a passable imitation of that creepy-as-fuck, I know all your secrets smile. Not quite there yet, but Naruto gave her a B+ for effort. This trip was already proving to be highly educational. Here are your passes. Please refer to the desk on your right, if you wish to make use of our training facilities. Have a nice day. And it was getting better. Moving out of the line, he passed the identification cards around and gathered his brats up near the exit to lay down the law. Well, kids, I have bad news, good news, and better news. 6 pairs of curious eyes peered at him, unblinking, with the kind of intense focus trained soldiers afforded their commanding officer. It was freaking out the motley crew of not-so-casual observers the name Giglio Nero had attracted. Heh. Amateurs. Little brats had them pegged, too, silently exchanging coded messages and debating over which target, red, unfortunate victim, they got to fuck with first. Bad news is, our affiliation to Arya-san is now known and our actions here will reflect on her famiglia. Kyoya and Hana shot him an impatient glare, in total sync for once, as if to say obviously, and who do you take us for, and get on with it. He had taught them well, hadn't he? Naruto grinned a fox-like grin, all mischief and stretched cheeks and damn proud of his little ducklings. Good news is, we know the importance of having an alibi and plausible deniability. 6 pairs of lips mimicked his grin, even no-nonsense Hana and stalwart Tetsuya, because they were on an effing vacation and this was their chance to de-stress, and who cared about professional criminals getting their just desserts. If the bystanders were freaked out before, they were now downright alarmed. Better news is, they have training facilities we can use. Naruto clapped his hands once, wrapping up his speech to the kids' unholy glee and the mafiosi's horrified shock. With that said, let's check into our hotel. You can have the rest of the day to yourselves while I check out the training area and meet with the instructor. Supposedly, he's ex-military, so that will be fun. We can now add firearms to our arsenal. Isn't your sensei awesome? The kids cheered. Naruto mentally patted himself on the back. The mafiosi crossed themselves as if warding off evil and praying for deliverance. Rude much? One fun underground ride later, for him, his fellow passengers kept screaming their lungs and puking their guts out like the weak-willed pussies they were. Naruto entered the training grounds, scanning around for the "you can't miss him, trust me," according to the desk guy, instructor. And what do you know, he found him all right. The Green Army camouflage and anti-tank rifle ensemble was kind of hard to miss. Also, the blue pacifier was a big clue. And fuck his life, the Ninhawk on top of the killer baby's head. Under normal circumstances, this meeting might have been pretty chill, but the Nin animal, yeah, that was a fucking deal breaker. If Naruto had to go through another puppy dog Eyes of Doom session once Kyoya caught sight of the damn avian, then this guy would share his pain. Misery loved company and all that petty shit. Scowling, he yelled, "Oh, are you Colonello?" The army baby blinked once, and again, then slowly dragged his gaze all over him. "Yeah, who's asking?" An 11-year-old pretty boy giving him the world's angriest bitch face must have been throwing him off his game. Not that Naruto had any fucks to spare. He clicked his tongue, skipping pleasantries altogether, and unknowingly setting the pattern for any and all future interactions between his brats and the Arcoleno. Young kids were impressionable. Kyoya, in particular, took his lead as gospel. "Uzumaki Naruto. The guy at the desk upstairs told me to find you after I paid for the weekend course." There was a pregnant pause, and another slow once-over, before Colonello said, matter-of-fact but not unkind, "You don't look like much, kid. Are you sure you want to do this, Korra?" Naruto snorted. "Nah, I'm just here to test your facilities, see if they're gonna give my kids a decent challenge." Gobsmacked, Colonello goggled at him, as if he had just been slapped with a wet fish and told he needed more vitamin D in his diet. He opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. "You signed the waiver, right?" was what eventually came out. What Naruto heard was, "Did you sign the lovely legal document that releases me from all liability in the case of your untimely and gruesome death?" As if he was a rookie taking his first Chunin exams. Pfft. Please, bitch. This guy had nothing on Anko. Now, that woman had Danger as her middle name. Hot as hell Danger. Man, that after-war party. Good times. All traces of irritation withered away. He grinned widely. "Yeah, I sure did. So fucking worth it." Colonello's face seemed frozen in the unflattering state of witless gaping. He must have recognized that grin from his own experiences when he wasn't reduced to chibi form. Finally, he shook his head, realizing the sane option here would be to wash his hands off of him. "Whatever, kid, your funeral. Knock yourself out, Korra." Naruto gave him a cheeky salute, then he was off like the wind, only to come back 40 minutes later, looking like he had just taken a stroll through the park, not a hair out of place. Not bad, bit too obvious on the traps though. You might want to fix that. Anyway, I'll be back with the brats tomorrow. See ya. Colonello appeared at a loss for words. He regained his voice the next day when Naruto came back with his cadre of baby ninja. Are they sticking to the cliffside, Korra? By the soles of their feet? Vertically? Running on water? Am I seeing this, Korra? Sweet baby Jesus. Did that little girl incinerate half the tank turret with storm flames? That was expensive, Korra. Fuck. Lorenzo was still inside. That's not the minefield area, Korra. Why are there explosions? What have you been teaching these? Did that boy just grow a giant arm? These are not human kids, Korra. Good job, brats. If you keep this up, I'm gonna have to devise some sort of Chunin exam sooner than I thought. In the middle of that heartwarming scene, abound with praise, hair-ruffling, self-satisfied kitty grins, and smoking craters in the background, Colonello pounced on Naruto. Gripping the lapels of his shirt with deceptively tiny fists, the killer baby headed him, half hissing, half screaming. Who are you, Korra? Naruto could have avoided it, but didn't. Hell, he could have introduced himself properly, but this little asshole deserved everything Naruto could dish out and more. Because he had fucking called it yesterday, Kyoya's eyes were glued to the Ninhawk with no intention of forgetting he ever saw the bird and every intention of making Naruto's life hell until he got him one. So in pure, spiteful retaliation, he decided to be an even bigger asshole. Raising a brow, he went on full-on prankster mode. I introduced myself yesterday, didn't I? That's not what I meant and you know it. Well, like I said, the name's Naruto. As for who I am, attention. The Carcassa Famiglia is attempting a naval attack on Mafia land. I repeat. We are under attack. Customers are advised to evacuate to the designated shelters in an orderly fashion. Please remain there until the situation has been resolved. Thank you for your cooperation. Colonello's grip slackened as he banged his forehead against Naruto's collarbone. Oh, for the love of Sparta, not again. When will those fucking morons learn better? I take it this happens often. It was more of a dry statement than a question to the dead weight latched onto his chest. Every single year. Humming, Naruto took in his brat's bloodthirsty little grins at the opportunity of unfettered destruction, and decided. We'll help. Colonello's eyes trailed from Naruto's face to his brat's, briefly dithering, but in the end, he heaved a sigh and said with the certainty of a man who would come to regret his words. Follow me then. Naruto's left eyelid spasmed violently. Someone was going to die today. Because he would fucking murder one of the killer babies. Believe it. What was it with Arcoleno and Nin animals? Were they doing this shit on purpose? He glared at the purple killer baby, at the giant armored octopus, at the enemy Famiglia swarming the seashore and running around like headless chickens. The Great Skull-sama is here! Surrender or face my wrath! Forward, Deiko! The biker baby belted out in stereo from atop his Nin octopus as he made his dramatic entrance. Apparently, his voice wasn't evocative enough on its own. Oh, no. His helmet had to come equipped with a microphone, too. Then, the blue killer baby swooped down to save the day held by the talons of his Nin hawk. Your wrath, my ass! If you don't cut the bullshit, I'll pump you full of lead, Korra! You and your stupid octopus! Kyoya had stopped fighting to watch the Nin animals duke it out. Yeah. One of them, or both, was so going down. Sio Colonello se senpai? What a surprise! I didn't see you there. Ellie, let's not be hasty. Wincing, Naruto rubbed his ringing ears as they landed beside him, and thanked the sage, Kyoya's battle lust was back with a vengeance. Relief flooded his system. Even better, the biker baby pulled off his helmet and squealed in a lower but no less dramatic voice, grinning and bubbly and unfucking believably purple. It's been a while, senpai. How've you been? I'm doing great, by the way, thanks for asking. Naruto's expression went stone cold flat. Seriously? Skull is... Colonello began, visibly pained, but gave up midway with an exasperated sigh. Yeah, I've got nothing. Undeterred, the biker baby all but got in his face. And who's this? Friend of yours? Not really. Naruto drawled out, then rolled his shoulders, murderous impulses under control, because this little guy was too kid on a sugar high hyper to stay mad at. It'd be like bullying a kid or something. So he made up his mind to treat him like one too, and throw him at his brats. That was fair, right? Right. Say, is that your famiglia? Skull tilted his head towards the ongoing battle, as if he had forgotten all about it in the meantime, and yeah, with an attention span so short he checked another kid box. Oh yeah, kinda? I have a yearly contract with them. Wringing his hands, the biker baby swayed back and forth, biting his lip ring before admitting. It's just, at the end of each year, they don't get no for an answer. Did that mean what Naruto thought it meant? Colonello seemed to think so, because it was the first time he looked angry on Skull's behalf instead of at him. Wait. He cut in, pale blue eyes sharp and narrow. Carcassa is threatening you, Korra? It was also the wrong conclusion. Oh no, nothing like that, Colonello-senpai. Skull hurried to disabuse them of that notion, limbs frantic and flailing all over the place. They're just so sad I'll be leaving them. I can't stand those sad faces, you know? Colonello's fingers tightened around the pistol grip. I will shoot you, Korra. Naruto could even hear his teeth grinding, but that guy was an asshole, so... He nodded at Skull, humoring the little guy and enacting his original plan before Colonello blew a fuse. Well, in that case, you might want to go save them. Skull blinked. Save them? From what? His eyes almost popped out of his head at the sight of his brat's beautiful seaside annihilation. What the hell? Are those freaking kids? Fuck no. Colonello's deadpan didn't convince Skull. Oh ye of little faith. But they look like kids. Flame-active kids. Are they like us or something? Naruto grinned. Nah, my kids are just awesome like that. Your kids? Unable to take his eyes off of the kitty carnage, the biker baby spluttered, on the verge of hysteria. Aren't you a little young to be a father of? His voice rose shrilly. 6? No, not really. Naruto's grin became wicked as he shrugged. What can I say? Ladies love me. It's my animal magnetism, you know? The killer baby stared at him amid the deafening clangor of battle and what the fuck speechlessness. Then, Colonello declared with the strained visage of someone who had reached his quota of bullshit. As their father. And who couldn't believe he was actually saying this. You're paying for the damages. Hey now. I wasn't the one who invaded the island. His pointed stare spoke volumes of who was. We'll pay for everything, I swear, we will. Just please make them stop. Skull wailed, pulling at his hair. Little guy was so distressed that Naruto felt a twinge of guilt, but before he could do something stupid, like take pity on him and offer to cover for his brat's rampage, Skull shoved his head inside his helmet and jumped into the fray, crying out, "Salvatore, no, don't go into the light." Yeah, there was no saving that guy. What did I miss? Kurama yawned, lazily flicking his tails. Nothing, just kids being kids. Chapter 12. Naruto had been pranked. After convincing the parents to sign up their kids for summer camp, forgery, puppy dog eyes, and just a touch indigo fire chakra might or might have not been involved depending on each case, they had arrived in Italy mid-June, on a sunny Sunday morning, and promptly been picked up by Gamma at the airport. 1 week, 3 days, 9 hours, 40 minutes, 12 seconds, and counting, later he was still searching for a place that made a good bowl of ramen. Italy was not, as he had been led to believe by that asshole Gamma, this world's counterpart of the land of noodles. Not even close. Oh sure, they had more pasta dishes than he could eat in one sitting, but ramen? These people didn't know a damn thing about ramen. Low blow, Gamma? So not cool, man. Nobody messed with his ramen. There were pranks, and then there was common human decency. Some things were sacred. And so it came to pass that Gamma was assigned temporary captaincy of Team A. Never let it be said Naruto didn't know exactly how to give someone their dues. The brats were learning tons. Gamma was touring the 9 circles of hell. Arya was amused. Naruto was in quest for the treasure of Italian ramen. Giglio Nero was shaking like a leaf and scared stiff in equal measure. All was right with the world. Then Kyoko got kidnapped. "I'm sorry, what? Wanna run all that by me again, Kyo-chan?" Staring at the phone screen as if it would suddenly gain artificial intelligence and tell him this was all a terrible joke or a technical malfunction, Naruto counted to 3 in his mind. The mobile phone remained lifeless, but Arya raised an inquisitive brow over her coffee cup. Naruto made a noise of vague assent, then placed it on the table and put the call on speakerphone. If she wanted to enter the kingdom of welcome lunacy and goodbye sanity, it was her prerogative. "We were doing a reconnaissance on the northern territories, specifically Lombardy, when we detected signs of suspicious behavior. A middle-aged man was scouting children between the ages of 6 and 12 for unknown reasons. Yosei suggested we investigate, and volunteered to be the bait due to her innocuous appearance. Which translated into cause she's a sweet muffin and everybody wants a piece of her. But Kyoya would rather hug Fawn than come out and say it. Brat was cute like that, even if half of Namamori vehemently disagreed, as did their hospital bills, but Naruto had irrefutable proof. The nean-animal obsession spoke for itself. Case in point, he had barely succeeded in placating the little brats after the Mafia land sightings by introducing the idea of ANBU animal masks and code names. In the end, they had chosen to go for a yokai theme instead, which had resulted in the birth of Tenko, Naruto, Tengu, Kyoya, Yosei, Kyoko, Inagami, Takeshi, Suzaku, Hana, Reiju, Tetsuya, and Sarigami, Ryohei. The kids were pleased as punch, the nean-animal fiasco once more diverted, and Naruto blessedly off the hook. Except, the next killer baby to show up with a nean-animal was dead meat. May all the gods have mercy on their soul, because Naruto sure as hell wouldn't. Inagami and I followed the target after the bait was taken and are currently situated outside the secret base he entered with the captured children. End of report. Gotta hand it to the brat. Only Kyoya could make screw-ups of this magnitude sound like professional bullshit. Yamato Taicho's reports had been eerily similar, down to the lack of intonation and headache-inducing factor mixed in with the rest of the crazy. Only thing missing was the flashlight and ghost eyes visual effects. Yeah, that's what I thought I heard you say. Naruto closed his eyes, rubbing his lids, while Arya, the easily amused traitor, giggle-snorted into her coffee cup. Just out of curiosity, where was Gamma during all that? No, scratch that, where is he now? He's supposed to be your team leader for this mission. Gamma Taicho proposed we take surveillance shifts, and had the night shift as he deemed the day shift more low risk. He is currently recuperating at the Giglio Nero Famigla's safe house. Course he did. The pads of his fingers dug into the thin skin of his lids as Arya gave into laughter, bent in half and clutching at her stomach. Alright, Kyo. A puppy growl, and yeah, that right, there was more proof Namamori didn't know jack shit. His brat was fucking adorable. I'm sorry, Tengu. Send me the coordinates of your location, and do not move from there until I arrive, or unless Yosei sends out a distress signal. If she does, you have permission to go forth and fuck shit up, K? Affirmative, Tenko. Kyoya's manic please make my day motherfuckers grin was audible on the other end of the line. Blithely, Naruto hung up and turned to Arya, who was washing down laughter with a big gulp of coffee. Your subordinate's leadership ability sucks balls. You better pray it doesn't transfer to the bedroom. Arya choked. Naruto stood in the middle of the ruins that used to be the Estranio Famiglia's research laboratories. Around him, human bodies were strewn on every surface, broken and slashed and burned to near death. Beside him, Gamma was silent and fidgeting with the knot of his tie, knuckles white and clenched tight, anger warring with disgust across his face. Behind him, Time was huddled around 3 blood-splattered children in hospital robes, providing first aid and assurances of freedom, Kyoya, and safety, Takeshi, and emotional support, Kyoko. So, let me get this straight. His voice was a low, smooth bass, carrying the kind of calm that implied he had gone past rage and straight to coldly calculating murder. A bunch of mad scientists created some iffy possession bullet, and the Mafia decided that shit ain't right and they should be wiped out. But you're totally okay with them experimenting on a bunch of little kids. Cause, correct me if I'm wrong here, this mental shitfest has been going on for years and nobody gave a single fuck. Gamma pressed his lips together, because what could he say to that? Naruto dared him to try and justify it. Still, shaken and ashen-faced, he tried. Fuck, this is insane. They hid well? Bullshit. My kids uncovered this whole mess in one fucking day. Your kids are not normal human children. Naruto heard that line from Gamma's mouth at least twice a day, but unlike every other time, it was colored with relief and maybe a little satisfaction, as if he was genuinely glad they weren't. Frowning, he sighed, deciding to lay the blame where it should fall in the first place. Isn't there, I dunno, some kind of Mafia police force to ensure this sort of thing doesn't happen? The blood drained from Gamma's face, leaving behind wan skin and stark bones and utter, helpless dread. The man had learned to read him well by now. Naruto was so calling the Mafia cops on these pathetic third-rate copies of Orochimaru. Yes, actually, but I wouldn't call the Vin nice without great. How do we call? Naruto never got to finish, because the Mafia police showed up Uchiha style. Like, there was black fire and space-time ninjutsu and people coming back from the dead and the gloom of hatred in the atmosphere. It couldn't get any more Uchiha than that. Kurama itched to burn them out of existence on principle, and right now, Naruto was inclined to let him. Bad timing on their part. Never mind. That's them, yeah? Taking Gamma's mute shock as confirmation, Naruto examined the 3 bandaged Uchiha wannabes. Kind of feel like Edo Tensei, don't they? Close, but not quite. Kurama spat, a black rumble of disdain and malevolence, and whoa, the fuzzball's chakra hadn't been that restless in ages. Edo Tensei are emotionless puppets, but these, they're filled with hatred. Nothing but petty human hatred. They feel like something trapped between life and death. Their chakra is twisted, and it's not even theirs. Someone's been feeding them that twisted chakra to keep them in that state. Twisted? Naruto made a go-on motion, partly because he was intrigued by this chakra anomaly, partly to keep the fox talking and not eradicating. It worked too. Kurama sat back on his haunches, resuming listen as I explain the obvious to your tiny human brain lecture mode instead of kill it with fire chakra mode. You know how all living beings have fire chakra in this world? Yeah, even if they never tap into it, they still have it. Well, this fire chakra feels like what dead beings would have if, they kept on living. And hating, can't forget the all-consuming hating part. Just like that thrice-cursed Madara. And there went the fox's zen. So they're stubborn bastards who refused to die and ended up like this, and the one who's been feeding them this black fire chakra was probably the one who started it all. They're also out for blood. Whose is the question? Kurama was too deep in his Daiuchiha spawn blood rage to be of further assistance, so Naruto let him vent in peace. He had some venting of his own to do, and would you look at that? The targets were even considerate enough to line up for the ass-kicking he was about to dole out. Oi, shitty police dudes! Stillness, and the temperature dropping, the humans shivering, the undead staring into the inferno and Naruto staring into the abyss. What the fuck is wrong with your response time? You just appear out of the blue like the fucking boogeyman when someone breathes your name, but you can't spare a goddamn minute to save a bunch of little kids from being experimented to hell and back? Silence, then tall, dark, and creepy droned out. The Vinice uphold the laws of the Mafia world. It is not your place to dispense justice. Cease your accusations lest you wish to be detained. Really? Really? That was their damn issue here? They didn't come to fix their mess but to arrest. Naruto lost it. Kurama perked up. Gamma removed the kids from within the line of fire, and what was about to become ground zero. Fuck your laws and shitty sense of justice. Innocent kids have been suffering for years and you've done fuck all about it. Explain that to me. No explanation came forth, but an ominous rattle of chains, black fire chakra re-emerging, space-time distorting. Fuck it. Go wild, Kurama. With pleasure. All hell broke loose. Killing intent suffused the air, massive and heavy and inhuman, red fire chakra pulsing hotly. A thrilled refrain of half-dead things should know their place and taste the fear. Tiny living corpses, feel it in your souls and burn, burn, burn. Inwardly, Naruto's sweat dropped, a good portion of his wrath melting into embers. Cabin fever, that must be it. Maybe he should let the fur ball out more. With adult supervision. On an uninhabited island, far away from civilization. Nobody would miss a little island in the middle of nowhere, right? Outwardly, he flashed jagged teeth at the zombie police, in a mockery of a grin, in a way that screamed they were going to be that island if they didn't shut their trap and listen. Got any more complaints? No? Great! So here's what will happen. You'll arrest those fucking scumbags and throw them into the deepest, darkest cell you've got, never to see the light of day again. I wouldn't be averse to some police brutality while you're at it either. You'll apologize to these poor kids and promise to show up the moment they call your name for help in the future. You'll give my kids a fucking medal for sorting out your mess and won't even dream about arresting them. He surveyed their still-as-death forms slowly, one by one, blood in his eyes and violence in his grin and promise in his voice. If you do all that, then we won't have a problem. Capice? Instead of responding, either in the positive or negative, it didn't matter to Naruto, though Kurama was clamoring for the latter. Their spokesperson opted for the third option and called for reinforcements, aka the chief of Mafia police. It was a killer baby, too, a zombified one, because why the hell not? They seemed to be everywhere Naruto went, and damn, did he burn with the cold fires of hatred. On the plus side, there were no mean animals in sight, so yay for small mercies. This killer baby might unlive to see another day if he played his cards right. Baby Chief opened with, "What seems to be the issue, Jaeger?" Which led to 5 minutes of hushed conversation among the cloaked figures of Unlife and Justice. Aha. So that was the name of tall, dark, and creepy. Good to know in case this turned ugly, for the gravestone and all. And finished with, "The Estranio Famiglia is hereby found guilty of illegal human experimentation and sentenced to permanent incarceration in Vendicare." Chains coiled around the prisoners' bodies, binding and dragging them through the portal, while the zombie baby was still speaking, and wow, these guys didn't waste time with superficial trivialities like, say, a court trial. An event that would have generated an untold amount of fucking paperwork. Maybe they weren't irredeemable bastards, after all. Naruto could grow to like them in time. The Vinice offer their sincere apologies to the survivors for failing to enforce the law in a timely manner. The company of the living dead inclined their heads at the two faraway children in perfect sync, then Baby Chief pinned Naruto with an inscrutable stare. Like, the bandages were in the way, also the hate-limited range of emotions and monotone, so Naruto had no idea what sort of stunt the zombie baby was going to pull. "You Vongola Sky child. What is your name?" "Oh. Shit. Baby Chief was old enough to remember Iyasu? Yeah, had to be, just his luck. Awesome. Not. Resigned, Naruto prepared for the eventuality of Vongola becoming involved, and gods above, Imitsu. Kurama whispered insidious suggestions of immolation, including his useless father to the pyre because he was benevolent like that. Not helping, Kurama, but thanks. You rock. Sawada Tsunayoshi, he grudgingly said, blocking out the fox's fantasies. Your famiglia is absolved of any crimes against the Estranio Famiglia. Any future infractions will be dealt with according to the law. Do we have an agreement, Sawada Tsunayoshi? That was pure awesome right there. Baby Chief rocked, too. We sure do. Naruto all but beamed at the zombified killer baby. And you are? It might have been his dramatic 180 turn, or the fact he was still emitting low-level killing intent, or that his grin was full of fangs and his eyes a fox-slit crimson, but Baby Chief had the most human reaction Naruto would probably ever get from him. He slanted his head to the side, measuring him up and down with a regal sort of feline curiosity, then said, tone dead but accent thickening, Bermuda von Weckenstein. Naruto nodded and went all in. You wouldn't happen to know anything about the asshole who made that shiny trinket around your neck, now would you? Baby Chief's silence in conjunction with the abrupt loathing spike was answer enough. Asshole who fucked them over found. Well, that was one revenge trip he wouldn't mind taking, so feel free to stop by for a visit when you've got time to kill. We'll have tea and cookies and everything. Another cat-like slanting of his head. Then, perhaps. And they were gone. Not 2 minutes later, the little brats raced over to him, a shell-shocked Gamma trailing behind, and of course, Kyoko was the first to open her mouth, smiling like she cared nothing for his epic showdown with the zombie Mafia police. She had never doubted he would win. None of his brats did. The sensei worship was strong in these ones. This is Mukuro-kun, and Ken-kun, and Chikusa-kun, and we are coming with you. Mukuro-kun was the one who attached that grand declaration to Kyoko's introductory sentence. Mukuro-kun, who should be traumatized but instead was smiling like Christmas had come early and Santa had gifted him with explosive tags. Because he was such a good boy, a paragon of virtue, the very picture of innocence, truly, and yeah, Naruto had only 2 things to say to that, the more important. You're gonna be a little shit if I say no, yeah? And the less pertinent. You do know we're Mafia, right? Mukuro-kun's smile became more innocent. You don't act like the Mafia I know. And you are interesting. Naruto snorted. Fair enough. All right then, time to move out, brats. And so saying, they departed from the ruins of the Estraneo Famiglia, Gamma still shell-shocked and trailing behind, repeating over and over. He picked a fight with the Vinice, and won. He would recover soon. Probably. Chapter 13. Naruto had a pretty damn strong feeling someone up there was screwing with him just for shits and giggles. It had started with the reincarnation bullshit, and it kept getting stronger as the years passed by. Was this going to be a regular thing now? Ducklings crawling out of the woodwork and imprinting on him at first sight? Because if it was, the government owed him some family benefits, damn it. Starting with free psychiatric care and an exemption from laws regarding underage drinking and controlled substances. Team C for circus was something straight out of fantasy books. If Stephen King and Roald Dahl got together and had a brain baby, it would be this team. Like, there were illusion horror shows and beast-taming acts and Saban throwing games and creepy murder laughter everywhere. Which would have been fine on its own. All his brats were bloodthirsty little monsters. It was good PTSD therapy, and this team needed it yesterday. But Kyoko loved it. She loved it so much that she spent hours debating indigo fire chakra mindfuckery with Mukuro. And that was the crux of the problem, because Kyoya hadn't taken that well. At all. Naruto wasn't sure if this was the beginning of the most epic rivalry ever or a fucked up love triangle, or what. In comparison to that lovely disaster, Ken's competitions with Ryohei over who was the manliest of them all was nothing. Even if it did cause more flashbacks than Naruto was comfortable with. And a food shortage. Chikusa, he had decided after having to restock the fridge for the nth time, was his favorite. Such a quiet boy, well-mannered, with proper hygiene habits. So what if it rains Samban when Kusa-chan gets emotional, Gamma? Learn how to fucking dodge, man. What next? Gonna blame the kid for having nightmares? Between the integration of Team C into the ranks of Chibi Shinobi, Gamma's slow mental recovery, Aria's quick cover-up of the Estraneo Vindes screw-up, and his ongoing ramen odyssey, Naruto had little time to spare for supervising missions. An oversight on his part, true, but Gamma had gone through his baptism of fire. How hard could it be to keep an eye on the brats? 2 weeks later, the answer stormed Giglio Nero's mansion, harder than steel and twice as sharp. Trouble came from where he had neglected to be vigilant. Out of all his problem kids, he hadn't expected Takashi would be the one to catch Vongola's attention with his newborn stalkerish fanboy ways. Brats snooping around Varia territory? Have you lost your fucking mind? I almost eviscerated that little shit. Levi tried to fry the girl. Now the idiot's in a fucking coma and Mammon's been bitching about the medical cost for 3 fucking hours. Naruto was tempted to make a snarky retort about how this guy had been bitching for half an hour already, at ear-bleeding decibels, too, but the entertainment value outweighed the temporary hearing loss. Because Gamma was the victim of the vocal torture, complete with violent sword stabbing and copious amounts of blue fire chakra to keep him immobile, and he deserved every second of it. If he hadn't slept on the job again, there wouldn't be a psychotic swordsman tearing into him, loudly and viciously, or a tiara brat twirling knives with dexterity and progressively disturbing laughter in Giglio Nero's entrance hall. Still, it was becoming repetitive. Also, Gamma was in danger of passing out from blood loss, but that was a minor concern, so Naruto took over by nudging the source of the man's suffering. "And what do you have to say about all that, Take-chan?" Never taking his eyes off of Sword Psycho for a millisecond, smile bright and warm as the Mediterranean sun, Takashi let out a cheerful laugh. "I had fun!" Now, that penetrated Sword Psycho's rage more quickly than Iajutsu. He swung around to face Takashi, pivoting on his heel, sword arm rising in one fluid motion, and wow, this guy danced like Kiri's fancy sword masters, all lithe grace and hair flipping and shit. Naruto could now see why his brat had fixated on him. "Voy! The fuck was that, you little shit? Wanna say it again?" Smile brighter, warmer, Takashi gamely ignored the gleaming instrument of death that almost kissed the tip of his nose. "I just wanted to spar with you." "You!" Sword Psycho's mouth froze mid-sentence, as if there was a delay in processing Takashi's words because it was the last thing he expected to hear. All was quiet for a moment. Even the tiara brat had ceased being disturbing as fuck in his isolated corner. "I watched you train in that field for 2 hours. The boy began, a little timid, then growing more animated, until he was grinning and bouncing on the balls of his feet, happier than a hamster on a running wheel. "Your form is perfect, and your footwork's really great, the flow's sorta beautiful, you know, and your style blends moves in a way I haven't seen before, and your seme's on Oyaji's level. Only Oyaji can push me, and he's given up the sword, so we don't spar often. Plus, we use the same style, so it gets kinda boring after a while even if I can never beat him." At this point, Takashi stopped to breathe. Sword Psycho had been rendered speechless, his posture telegraphing how caught off guard he was, and how conflicted about the correct response. Like, should he start yelling and slice the brat in half or shut up and take the damn compliment? And boy, was he awkward when flattered. Naruto found it hilarious. Now, this was prime entertainment, even better than Gamma's impromptu TNI session. "So I followed you home, and my team followed me, and that lightning guy went for Kyoko-chan, you know? If I hadn't taken him down fast, Kyoya and Kyoko-chan would have done something worse, trust me." After placing the blame on this lightning guy, Takashi shrugged his shoulders, nonchalant and showing no signs of remorse, just like Naruto had taught him. Attaboy, Sword Psycho must have determined there was at least a smidgen of truth buried in all that, somewhere between sweet-talking the fuck out of him and typical Kyo duo bullshit. His posture loosened, sword arm lowering at long last. Still ingesting the flattery part though. "TCH. You've got good eyes, puppy. Your baby team's not half bad either. Levi's an idiot, but as much as it pains me to admit it, that trash is quality." If he was going for suave and cool, it failed miserably. The pet name was the first clue, Takashi's A Million Suns smile the second, and the variety of laughter coming from the peanut gallery the last. Probably why he returned to what felt natural in the next second. But that's not the fucking problem here. You don't break into someone's turf just cause you want to spar. Fuck, did nobody ever tell you not to follow strangers around? What if I was some sick pedophile? What then, puppy? Heh. The pet name stayed, and so would Takashi. Give his brats an inch and they take a mile. Naruto knew it all too well but doubted this guy was aware of what was in his future. Better to ease him into it though. Clearing his throat, he inserted himself into the conversation, signing for Takashi to let him handle matters from now on. "Are you?" "Fuck no." Offended, punctuated by sword swinging, and way too loud. "I don't see the problem then," was all Naruto said because he had told his brats how to deal with sexual predators, in graphic detail, and following them around was on top of the list. Sword Psycho, apparently, didn't agree with his policy. "You don't? What the fuck is wrong with your brats, Gamma? Seeking validation from the only other adult in the room, huh?" "Poor choice, Sword Psycho." Gamma, who was in the middle of patching himself up, groaned and muttered, half in pain, half in despair. "I don't even know where to start." Before he could regale Sword Psycho with his tale of woe and hardship at the hands of little kids, Naruto chose to end this whole shebang with the tried and true Namamori method. "How about we take care of the medical expenses and call this incident a misunderstanding?" And oh, it was a meeting of the minds because Sword Psycho's expression spoke of someone well versed in this method as he said, victorious and bold as you fucking please. "That'll get Mammon off my back, but there's still the issue of who's gonna take over that idiot's paperwork now. Lashuria has him on bed rest for at least a week. Ouch. That hurt like a bitch. Using the P word? Naruto's wrist ached just thinking about it. Damn, must be psychosomatic. Talk about fighting dirty, sword psycho. Good for him, he needed in his puppy future since that shit was for life. Takashi was going to own this poor bastard. Once that brat decided sword psycho was it, then he was it. Hell, Naruto was experiencing it multiplied by 9. So he wasn't kidding when he winced, flexing his right wrist, and in all seriousness asked, I feel you, man, I really do, but what do you want us to do about it? This question appeared to be what Sword Psycho was waiting for all along. Extending his sword arm, he pointed over to the once again snickering, knife-juggling Tiara brat. You can take Bell off my hands for the week. You're all fucking insane flame-active brats, you should get along fine. Have a fucking play date or something. As the situation devolved into a hot-tempered argument, the prince did not agree to mingle with peasants, exacerbated by sparks of fire chakra. Fuck if I care, you'll do it, and you'll like it, and shiny, pointy objects galore. Naruto bemoaned his future being multiplied by 10. Alright, you've got yourself a deal. Sighing a you win this round asshole sigh, he scrubbed a hand down his face while grumbling over the unfairness of the world and Sword Psycho's endgame, and why the hell was that bastard so damn thespian. But if you just wanted to arrange a week-long play date, couldn't you have skipped the drama and done that from the start? That was an hour of my life I'll never get back. I could have been in Florence checking out that Asian restaurant Tozaru suggested. It's been 5 goddamn weeks of instant ramen, for fuck's sake, I'm starting to get withdrawal symptoms. Taken aback, Sword Psycho took an infinitesimal pause. Big mistake. A knife almost nicked his femoral artery. Damn, kid was smart and relentless and knew to go in for the kill, and yeah, the Tiara brat would be right at home with his brats. Cursing under his breath, Sword Psycho shot a withering glare at Gamma, although why he kept expecting help from that front was a mystery. Voy. Seriously, what the fuck is wrong with your brats, Gamma? Eyes moving from the Tiara brat's maniacal grin to Sword Psycho's torn pants to his own bandaged thigh, Gamma threw it back with interest. You have no room to talk. Which summed it up nicely, tied up in a neat little bow, and hey, Gamma could be useful, color him impressed. Must be the blood loss, some people just performed better under pressure. Sword Psycho scoffed, then turned to leave, but not before musing up the Tiara brat's hair and tossing a piece of paper at Takashi. Voy puppy! Next time you want to spar, give me a fucking call first, got it? Takashi's smile went supernova. One last knife flew right on target, only to embed itself on the wall beside the Tiara brat's left ear as if it made a U-turn. Yeah, there would be phone calls before the week ended. Once the brats were out of the room, Naruto sighed, rubbing his temples. That was the current Varia commander, yeah? Superbi Squalo, the second Sword Emperor. He was Zanx's second in command before the guy fell off the face of the earth. Gamma deigned to inform him, copying his head massage. You can't miss him at parties. I've tried and failed more times than I can count. Naruto chuckled. He could totally see that, yeah? Well, Taechan likes him. Guess we'll be seeing him often. There were no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The only question was, won't it cause problems for you? Maybe. Or he would have said that if not for. Nah, does this face scream Emitsu to you? A thin brow arched drilly. Gamma conceded his point with an equally dry snort. Sides, you never denied we're Giglio Nero. I'll just tell the kids to pretend we are if it comes up. Naruto was beginning to lose faith in humanity. Why was this world filled with assholes? And why did the world keep hurling them at his feet? Couldn't a guy eat in peace, damn it? All he wanted was a fucking bowl of ramen. Was that too much to ask for? Like fuck, give him a break here and don't chase kids around yelling about bastards and half-breeds and whore mothers and nasty shit like that. In broad daylight, in the middle of the street, where decent people were. Fucking. Eating. Oi kid, you can come out now. He called out, scowling down at the 7 bodies lying bruised and bloody at his feet. Grown-ass men picking on little kids. Didn't their mothers teach them better? What was the world coming to? A small head of silverish white hair peeked from behind the dumpster the kid had hidden himself when Naruto's fist met asshole number 1's face. Henjinji into his 16-year-old past self came in handy. Waitresses didn't ask where his parents were, and assholes went down with one straight punch. 2 minutes passed before the kid deemed it safe to come out. Stomping all over the assholes no less. Nice touch, kid. Green eyes stared up at him, narrow with distrust and sullenly appreciative by turns. Then he stated, in his infinite wisdom, I didn't need help. Naruto fought hard not to laugh, because was this runt cute or what, trying to be all adult and self-dependent when he was like a decade old and 70 pounds soaking wet. Yeah, sure, whatever you say. And I wasn't hiding, he insisted, still firmly in I am my own man land, changing to a lecturing tone even. I could take them if I wanted, but that would cause a damn scene and haven't you heard the news? You know, about the Vindice, and how they've been real active lately? Last time a stupid drunk fight broke out, they arrested everyone without even asking what happened. I hear those guys are still serving time in Vendicare on charges for public intoxication and indirect violation of the secrecy law? Brat sounded confused, and hella dubious about the legitimacy of said charges, as if it was an elaborate prank the Vindice were playing on the Mafia. But it couldn't be because those guys didn't do jokes, ever. Naruto would be, too, in his place. Hell, he dearly wished he could be. Alas, he knew better really, baby chief? Taking it out on small-time crooks now. What happened to we are the vessels of hatred, we know no other emotion. You developing feelings? 'Cause that's nice and all, but did you have to start with frustration? Kurama needed to wake up from his I fucked with the dead now I'ma take a nap siesta soon. It just wasn't the same with no sarcastic comeback. He needed his partner, damn it. Dunno who lit a fire under their ass, but they've been cracking down on minor misdemeanor crap like that harder than the civilian police. The kid finished, eyes wary and stealing furtive glances at the shadows in the alley, as if the Vindice would show up and arrest him for slander or something. Yeah, no. Naruto wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. The Mafia world could fend for itself against the dark forces of oppression and zombieism. Not his problem, nuh. He nodded at the kid, feigning surprise and I'm so grateful you told me this vibes. Really? Huh. Thanks for the heads up. Red color smeared along the angles of his cheekbones and down the line of his collarbone. Brat ducked his head, as if the tips of his ears didn't betray the furious flush, words spilling rash and breathless from his mouth. "'Sno problem, you did kinda help me out and all, not that I needed it or anything." Oh man, getting cuter there. So it must have been the cute factor, also the assholes, can't forget them. Kid was a trouble magnet with that face, and because he would regret it if he didn't ask. "You got a place to stay, brat?" And the distrust was back in full force, though diluted with enough gratitude, that he saved him, or that he even cared, damn kid, to warrant an answer. "I'm staying with a family friend." "What's it to you?" "I'll walk you home," Naruto said simply, and it was non-negotiable. When the kid made to protest, Naruto smiled at him, his Kyoya smile, the one he flashed at Hellspawn when words failed to convey the message of "You'll do as I say, brat." Humor me. It worked on this kid, too, because all he could mutter was a subdued, "Fine." 8 blocks away, inside his proud bachelor pad, Trident Xiaomao was enjoying an afternoon cup of coffee as he paid homage to the latest Playboy issue, until he cracked open his daily fortune cookie, that was. "May you live in interesting times" was written in fire red ink. He still never saw it coming. Chapter 14. Naruto had learned quite a bit about Kakudera Hayato as the boy led him to the flat he shared with his guardian, mostly from what the kid didn't say. There was no mention of his birth family, or his guardian's affiliation, or anything related to a specific famiglia. All of it painted a not-so-nice picture. Little Hayato was a bastard child, discarded by his famiglia, somehow ending up in the care of a professional hitman, probably an independent one. It was nothing he hadn't seen before, sad yeah, but all too common. The world just was, nothing fair or unfair about it, but it presented an opportunity. Hayato needed purpose and bonds and somewhere to belong. Naruto needed an experienced jonin. Because 10 brats were a bit too much even for him, and while Gamma provided summer relief, that poor bastard was Aria's man through and through. Come September, they'd be back in Namamori, and Naruto refused to leave before snagging another temp Taicho for teams A and B. Chances were those brats would pass their first Chunin exams with flying colors, so all they needed now was a captain while Naruto focused on whipping Team C into shape and finding some teammates for Hayato. Win-win, right? There was a jingling of keys. Naruto looked down to see Hayato fiddling with the keychain, having stopped in front of an apartment building, indecisive and pink-cheeked and shifting from one foot to the other. Adorable little brat. "Hey, no need to get nervous. I just want to talk to your guardian, K? That's all, I promise." Slowly, he lifted his hand to stroke the kid's hair, giving him ample time to avoid it. Wide-eyed, Hayato stayed put, sucked in a breath, then at the last second ducked under his hand to unlock the door. Naruto's mouth quirked wryly. Maybe he should have started with Sasuke's forehead flick of familial affection for the emotionally stunted. In silence, the boy made a beeline for the staircase, not stopping until they were inside his flat. "And back, Shamal," he mumbled, shuffling to the kitchen where a dark-haired man with some stubble around his chin was, holding a magazine of questionable content, at an odd angle, eyes glazed over and giggling like Erosenin outside the hot springs. Or Kakashi-sensei in an Ika reading coma. Yeah, definitely the right man for the job. The majority of Naruto's mentors had been notorious perverts, skilled as hell but shamelessly open about their hobbies. "You're back earlier then." Shamal almost fell off his chair, the magazine disappearing in the blink of an eye, then went rigid, stupid grin still plastered on his face but more fake than the pair of breasts he'd been previously ogling. "Who's your friend, Hayato?" "This is Naruto." A blistering, mortified glare, all but screaming, "Why must you be such a pervert, and don't you dare embarrass me, and why did I ever think you were cool?" As if remembering the chain of events that caused their meeting, Hayato became more flustered. "We, ran into each other, by accident." "Right. Total accident. Like how Naruto's fist accidentally broke 7 assholes' faces. And he wanted to make sure I got home safe, I guess." Kid was as bad at lying as he was at accepting affection, and damn, if that wasn't just sad. Judging by the pervert's pinched features, it wasn't something out of the ordinary either. I see. Well, why don't you go wash up while I get to know your new friend, Hayato scowled, and that niggling at the back of his mind finally clicked into place. Naruto found himself staring at a green-eyed mini Night Aim, and wondering why it took him so long to make the connection. Kid was a damn genius, certainly smart enough to read the atmosphere, and not like what it spelled out, but Shamal's tone left no room for disobedience. Growling, he stormed out of the kitchen, with that Tobirama-worthy scowl and genius intellect promising there would be hell to pay when he came back. Pity his chakra sensing wasn't up to par. The Night Aim would have crushed the insect that latched onto the boy's nape before it could even flap its wings to take flight. Once the brat was out of hearing range, Shamal studied him closely, rubbing his chin, eyes half-lidded. Guarded, intrigued. "That's a clever disguise, mixing mist, lightning, and a core of sky flames, huh? Very impressive, could fool almost anyone. An Aburaim sensor, huh?" To detect the usage of fire chakra was one thing, difficult yet doable for most Chunin, but to be able to discern all that in mere seconds. His henge was flawless, even if he had to reinforce and stabilize it with a green and orange fire chakra combo because he sucked at indigo. Naruto leaned against the back of his chair and smirked. "Not bad, Asen." Shamal's jaw fell open. "Oh, Asen?" He slammed his palm against the kitchen table, knocking over his coffee cup and paying no mind to his soaked sleeve. "I'm 31, brat." 31. Why, I'm in the prime of my life. Ask any lady out there and they'll tell you, Ero-asen. "Oh, you little, Heia-chan just fell asleep." His smirk made his words lighter than they should be, all the heavier in their implications. "That's a fast-acting sedative, administered by a mosquito, huh? Very impressive, could fool almost anyone." Shamal's face closed off, all traces of comic outrage vanishing in an instant. "Not bad, Volpe." Rolling up his wet sleeve, he mirrored Naruto, his smirk, the casual way he spoke, how he lounged on his chair. "Now, mind telling me why someone of your caliber would take an interest in my little runaway? Far as I know, foxes are solitary creatures, not pack animals." "Oh. Must be the henge." Naruto's expression softened, both at the nostalgic reminder and the confirmation of Hayato's circumstances. "So he did run away from home." A flicker of pain, gone too quickly. Shamal sighed. "That is a long, sad story I really don't care to repeat, not my kind of love story, you know? I'm all for happy endings." Naruto's head tilted towards the badly hidden porn magazine, a deliberate, exaggerated glance, which Shamal pretended to miss while dabbing his coffee-stained sleeve with a napkin. "Yeah, you're a regular hero, Ero-asen." He rolled his eyes, getting back on topic, because he knew from experience that no manner of violence could beat the pervert out of him. If this guy was anything like Erosenin, then sadomasochism was an ingrained character trait by now. "Tell me, how often does Heia-chan get in trouble with disrespectful assholes talking shit about his dead mother?" Shamal crumpled up the napkin and threw it into the bin. When he met Naruto's stare, there was a smile in his eyes, an amused gleam, an epiphany. One of those rare foxes, are you? Picking up kits right and left? How many have you gotten so far? Finally catoned on, Eroasan. Now, how to make his recruitment pitch? Many scenarios raced through his mind, but who was he kidding? Naruto only ever had one way. Go big or go home. And, for the record, he was not going home without snatching up a tempt taicho. The corners of his mouth peeled back, parted for a flash of two sharp teeth. I have more kits than tails these days. Fire chakra pulsed hot and heavy, twisting and contorting, reshaping itself into something tangible. Shamel stared with eyes wide and lips shut as it took form, split into identical parts. Wild energy made will and fire. 9 tails snaked around his hips, burning brightly, imitating the blood orange of Kurama's fur. Shamel reached for the closest one, dragged the pads of his fingers along its flaring line, down to its white-hot tip. As if in a daze or drunk on fire, he murmured, "Thinking of adding to your skulk?" Naruto grinned, a sly curling of lips and mischief. Interested? It was rhetorical. Shamel's chakra told him all he needed to know, indigo wisps clinging even as he drew his fingers back and away, grabbed the pack of his cigarettes and lit one up. Naruto used a small pause as the man reoriented himself to extinguish the chakra tails now that his offer had been made and received. Depends. Shamel exhaled a ring of smoke, brown eyes glinting with amusement again, but there was a subtle shift to his scrutiny. Something personal, an assessment. I like to fly solo, you know, but Hayato happens to be my responsibility these days. So why don't we start by you telling me where your den is? Tricky question, but honesty was the best policy here, so he scratched his cheek and angled for a game of truth and omission. Well, I've set up my own den on Giglio Nero's land. You've left your birth den then? Nah, can't leave somewhere you've never been in the first place. Your sire is an idiot, right? Among other things, yeah? Naruto smirked as Shamel processed the information, plunging into the heart of the matter when the man finished his smoke. Want to give it a trial period? No strings attached. Shamel chuckled, shooting him a dirty look. Bullshit. Hayato's never gonna leave if you take him in. Naruto's smirk broadened. So? Nothing stopping you from leaving once you've seen Heia-chan's in good hands. He shrugged his shoulders, cavalier to the point of insult, and Shamel laughed, tipping his head. Touché, Volpe. Doesn't work that way though, and you damn well know it. A theatrical sigh whooshed out of his lungs. Why couldn't you have been a vixen? Naruto flipped him off. Keep on dreaming, Eroasan. Hayato adjusted to shinobi life with laughable ease, although that might have been because he met his fire chakra soulmates. The Red War lasted 3 days during which Hana, Belphegor, and Hayato gave it their all to outsmart, incinerate, and kill each other, or go out in a blaze of glory. Hana won, but only because she had the advantage of knowing the 5 big no-nos of engagement. Never stopped to monologue. Belphegor was too self-entitled not to give royal speeches. Never explain how your jutsu or strategy work. Hayato was too proud not to explain. Never allow yourself to be distracted from your opponent. Belphegor was too vainglorious not to lose his temper when his princely sensibilities were hurt. Never relax or cease attacking unless you've confirmed your target is incapacitated. Hayato was too misogynistic not to dismiss Hana as soon as she played possum. Never exhaust your chakra and betray your position with flashy finishers unless they're a surefire hit. Both Hayato and Belphegor were too in love with flashy moves not to throw them around like candy on Halloween. Shamel spent the whole time drunk, flirting with Arya, and willing himself to believe the kiddie war was an alcohol-induced hallucination. It was real. He was doomed, and he knew it, but in the words of Oscar Wilde, I could deny it if I liked. I could deny anything if I liked. The moment Gamma parked the car outside the Varia HQ, Belphegor sprinted out the door like he was being chased by the hounds of hell. Naruto and Gamma exchanged a glance full of mirth and wryness before they followed after him, only for Naruto to stop and stand stock still once he caught sight of whom the Tiara brat had run to. His brain shut down. His body went on autopilot. Gamma wisely returned to the car and hit the lock button. Mammon! Squa-senpai made the prince stay with peasants for a whole week. It was horrible and demeaning, and the prince did not play with children and I will pay you triple the normal fee if you avenge me. Just as the person of interest was about to reply, Naruto initiated Operation Curse Rainbow, Wrath of the Sensei, Phase 1. You! baby. With the Nin frog, a veritable explosion of killing intent shook the castle down to its foundations, with the hooded killer baby in the epicenter. You are very lucky the kids didn't come along. Never, ever, show your animal partner to my brats. If you even think about it. His voice regressed to a low rasp, writhing with instinctual things, fluctuations in chakra, violence thrumming in the silence, words layered with purpose and words unsaid. Death threats, killing urges. I will end you. Nothing moved. Nobody spoke. Then Squallow burst into the room, eyes searching around frantically, half bewildered, half hopeful. Voy. What the fuck was that? It felt like Xanxus wrath on fucking steroids. Naruto leashed his chakra, smiling, his stare searing through the killer baby's hood. Nothing. Just making sure your Arcoleno and I have an understanding. The hood swayed back and forth as if the tiny body underneath was in the throes of an epileptic seizure. I understand. Yeah, I bet you do. Awesome. See you next time. Naruto bent down and patted the Nin frog twice, then waved goodbye and turned to leave. Voy Mammon? What the hell, are you, alright? Worse than bankruptcy. He walked out of the Varia HQ with a smile, the satisfaction of an averted crisis, and the conviction of having seen the last of the Nin animals for the day, leaving behind a half-bewildered, half-devastated sword psycho, a shaken killer baby, and a madly snickering tiara brat. It wasn't meant to be. Naruto sat on the ground, gazing skywards, his back against the car door, or, more precisely, the dented hunk of metal that used to be the driver's door before he had torn it off to escape the collision 15 minutes ago. Both man and door had dived off the mountain road, crashing into the narrow, winding lane below the one where Gamma was in the process of ripping the motorcycle moron a new one. At least Gamma had come out of it relatively unscathed thanks to Naruto's swift rescue. It was debatable whether he would have survived the crash with mere scratches like him. Glimpses were all Naruto had caught before he went airborne. Windswept blonde hair, stricken brown eyes, a killer baby, a yellow striped fedora, a fucking Nin chameleon. The fuck were they thinking when they gave you a driver's license? I'm so sorry! My leg just cramped all of a sudden. I really didn't mean, disgraceful, pipsqueak Dino. A mafia boss doesn't squeal like a little girl. That was it. He was done. Naruto made a kamikaze clone, armed it with 24 grade 3 explosive tags, and tapped on his earpiece. Gamma. Code Jonetsu Jigaku. I'm outta here. Unlike the motorcycle moron, he even gave them fair warning. For Gamma's sake. He hadn't gone to all that trouble to save the man just to off him himself. Because if Gamma was blown to Kingdom Come, Naruto was ranked number 3 on Area's stud list, right below some poor, unaware bastard named Lancha. He had seen it. The last thing he heard before he slipped into the earth was Gamma's panicked, "Fire in the hole! Take cover!" Chapter 15. People have started to take notice of you. Area's manner was quite blasé, 2 fingers tapping a lazy rhythm against the tabletop, as if she was talking about the recent heatwave and not, "Oh, by the way, the Mafia are gunning for you, no biggie." Breakfast as usual then. Ever since his spectacular stunt of blowing up 1/3 of the mountain road, a young don in training, and his fedora baby Mafia tutor. But fuck them, they had it coming. Everyone and their grandma had been asking questions. It was Gamma's fault. If he had disguised himself, like Naruto had for the majority of their stay in Italy. Because Imitsu, "Nuff said, brats. Now let's see your henge." 6 flares of chakra, 6 perfect hen. No, wait, what? TCH. The Uchiha spawn might have some taste. This is all your fault, you stupid fox. Kyo-chan, I get it, I really do. You treasure the memory of the day we met, and Kurama made one hell of a first impression, but using my 6-year-old Jinchuriki face as your henge defeats the purpose of this subterfuge. HN. I take it back. Damn tasteless like the rest of his cursed clan. Great, he regressed again. Still blaming you, Kurama? The fedora baby wouldn't have recognized him, and known exactly where to point his gun. Which was why it was his job now to fend off that fucking persistent killer baby, thus missing the joy of breakfast on a regular basis. And tangerines, because you can never have enough tangerines, Eroasan. Italy might suck for ramen, but it was awesome for tangerines. Savoring his iced green tea, Naruto hummed in acknowledgement. That asshole keeps bothering you, yeah? Arya waved him off with aplomb. Uncle Reborn has been keeping an eye on me since Mom passed away, it's nothing new. I can handle him, no worries. What's the problem then? Playing ignorant is not cute, Volpe. Xiaomao glared at him with bleary eyes as he nursed his coffee, never a morning person, but damn, did someone piss in his cereal today or something? She's saying that maybe it's time to establish yourself. You can't hide behind Giglio Nero's name forever, you know. Not if you want respect in our world. People will keep pushing you, trying to snatch your kids away, if you don't state loud and clear to where they belong. Well, when he put it that way, his head thumped against the tabletop, accompanying Aria's rhythmic tempo. A headache was building behind his temples, and not from his dramatics, and yeah, he had known it would happen sooner or later, but it was way too fucking early to deal with this shitstorm. Shit! Lifting his head, he swigged his tea in 5 gulps, slamming it down, annoyed and frustrated and eyeing the booze cabinet. I get it alright. It's not that easy though. There's school and parents and civilian bullshit in the way. My kids aren't ready for that kind of venture. Silence fell over the table as they pondered the subject of how to Mafia for middle school kids. What if you focus on finding your niche for now? Still quite blasé, but now there were 4 fingers tapping, a faraway look in Aria's eyes, a deep, prescient blue. Not all famiglia are about fighting power. Some of them specialize in other things, take the Bovino and their technology for example. It struck him like lightning. Naruto banged his head again, because it was so goddamn obvious, and he was an idiot, and the Nidaime must be laughing at him from the grave. His parents too. And damn it, Erosenin. Then Xiaomao appended the fruit bowl over his head, and he came to his senses, and oh, tangerines, thanks, man. Throwing his head back, he bellowed to the great beyond, but mostly at the ceiling. Fuinjutsu, I love you! Nidaime, for a humorless bastard, you had awesome paperwork ninja skills! Kachan, Tuchan, I'm sorry I can't be a badass seal master like you were. Erosenin, you can go suck a dick! After getting all that off his chest, Naruto grinned and peeled his consolation tangerine while Xiaomao stared at him as if he had gone mad, the apple heathen. Ugh, why eat apples when you can have tangerines, man? Arya understood him. She giggled that amused I saw this like 10 seconds ago giggle and made a gimme motion. Reluctantly, he shared one half. Heia-chan's been soaking up ceiling theory like a sponge. He's got a long way to go, but kid's a damn genius. His head's full of all these ideas, you know? Like fuck, it's insane, it's just so, he's brilliant. Refilling the fruit bowl, Xiaomao pierced him with another laser-like glare, and did he? Oh hell no, he did not just take his tangerines hostage. Yeah, I do know. Intimately. What I didn't know was that even faulty explosive tags explode, but thank you for letting me study them with every inch of my body. This meant war. Naruto chewed his tangerine slice, swallowed slowly, and said as sweetly as the nectar melting on his tongue. You think it's bad now? Fruit bowl held close in his arms, Xiaomao flinched and hugged it tighter. It can get worse? Explosive tags are among the easiest seals to customize. Naruto's gaze zeroed in under the fruit bowl, passing the silent message I'll keep talking till you release the hostages, you filthy fruit napper. You can play with range, chakra, time delay, proximity, even connect them to another ceiling matrix and stuff like that. Just wait till Heia-chan starts adding things beyond the standard triggers. He can even attune them to your chakra if he gets a sample, so all he has to do is slip one under your bed and you go kaboom. Without him being near the area. Despite having gone white as a sheet, neither his arms nor his voice wavered when Xiaomao relinquished both fruit bowl and dignity. Thank you for clarifying that. I wasn't terrified enough before. Putting up a brave front, huh? Now that won't do, Eroasen. Terrified? Ha! Naruto tisked, mock pity and triumph slathered on his face, cuddling the fruit bowl with one arm and high-fiving Arya with the other. Please, Eroasen. I was just talking about explosive tags. You haven't heard terrifying yet. You gotta think outside the box. Xiaomao cast his gaze heavenwards, but mostly at the ceiling, sightless and beseeching the gods for mercy. Please stop talking. Satisfied, Naruto gorged himself on the spoils of war. Victory tasted oh so sweet. Anyway, my point is Fuinjutsu's something new, right? We can make it our business from back home, like market our storage seals and explosive tags, maybe barrier and trap seals, too. Simple stuff, nothing complicated or beyond grade 2, or sage forbid, unfucking real space-time and reanimation seals. Abruptly, Xiaomao snapped out of his prayers, and whoa, his glare sizzled. God damn it, Volpe! I said I didn't want to know. Now my dreams will be filled with reality breaking apart, and zombies feasting on my flesh while Hayato laughs in the distance. Huh. Now that imagery, premonition, his super intuition chimed, stuck into Naruto's mind, until Arya flashed him those deep blues of hers and purred, hot as fuck and all but projecting give it to me, I want it bad. We get a discount, right, Naruto-kun? Dumb woman. Naruto was proud to admit he lasted 93 seconds before folding like a wet tissue. If we make the alliance official, yeah? An orange manila folder appeared in Arya's hands before he even finished his sentence, as if from thin air. When Naruto stared at her, amused but deadpan, she pursed her pretty lips and pouted, sliding the folder across the table. What? I like to be prepared. Prepared, right, that was one word for it. He snorted, sealing the folder away. I'll look it over. Now that it was official though. Why not go all the way? Naruto unsealed his Fuinjutsu supplies, dipped his brush into the ink, and began drawing their emblem on a blank paper. Kids would love it. They were all for formal shinobi shit like ranks and flak jackets and whatnot. A shadow distracted him midway. Naruto twisted his head to find Shamao peering over his shoulder at the half-drawn symbols. We're really doing this, huh? Wait, what? Did he say? We. Not you. A soft brush of fire then, indigo and orange burning, meshing, harmonizing. Naruto grinned, because it felt right and he just snagged a jonin and hell yeah, they were doing this. You've got credibility and the Mafia contacts we need to start the ball rolling. I'll deal with production for now till Heichan gets past basic Fuinjutsu theory. His calligraphy ain't half bad either, but it needs work. Plus, Heichan will be happier working on the R&D side of things. Shamao huffed a short, deranged laugh, nearly braining him with an apple. Dodging with insulting ease, not a single drop of ink wasted, Naruto chuckled and carried on with his outline. Tetsu-chan's an administration whiz. Kusa-chan's great with numbers. Kyoko-chan and Hana-chan make one hell of a marketing duo. I'm sure Kuro-chan will dabble in a little bit of everything. The rest can choose where they want to get involved or stick to regular missions. Taking 1 week off from school every 2 months or so won't be hard to cover. And well, we've got clones if it gets too much to handle. One last stroke of his brush. With a flourish, Naruto presented his masterpiece, letting them examine it as the ink dried. Give it a few years and we'll be a pretty big name in the Mafia. You've thought this through. Shamao muttered contemplative, mapping out swirls and lines and old, forgotten symbols. The kanji for Konoha stood above the standard Fuin circle, and inside, the Konoha leaf boldly drew the eye like the center of the sun. I just have one question. His gaze lifted from the paper, connected with Naruto's, a fond, warm brown that quietly asked, Why Konoha? And Naruto looked at them, as he had once looked at his brats years ago, when he realized they were there, and they were his and introduced them to Kurama. He looked at Arya who saw the world through a million reflections of what can be and saw him. He looked at Shamao who was so much like his mentors that it hurt, and it soothed all at once. He looked at his family and said, smiling and time-worn and so fucking glad they had found each other. I'm gonna need sake for that story. As if from thin air again, a sake bottle appeared in Arya's hands, and Naruto burst out laughing, because was she for real or what? Agamajiji had nothing on Arya and her freaky psychic bullshit. Wiping his eyes with the back of his hand, those were happy, manful tears, he wasn't crying, damn it, he prodded the fox. Wanna join? Kurama's stare was blazing red with that all-knowing smugness, his mouth a sardonic show of fangs as he grinned down at Naruto. I suppose I could socialize with these humans. You could have done worse. He then snarled as was par for the course with him. And I do tell that story better. You tend to emphasize minor details like the Uchiha's insignificant contributions while understating their heinous transgressions. Naruto snorted. Sure you do. It was late August, late morning, and Sardinia was paradise on earth. Arya's suggestion to take a short vacation on the island while the rumor mill piped down was a godsend. Naruto lounged on a chaise, sipping a fruity, colorful cocktail and reading through Shamao's potential client notes. The pervert was ogling the throng of tanning female bodies, giggling and adding lines to his notebook, though he had derailed from subject half an hour ago. If Naruto had to skim through another fucking ode to Venus and god-awful softcore poetry about the passions of the flesh, he'd set both notes and man on fire. His kids had appropriated a small part of the beach for themselves, cleverly masked under genjutsu, and were playing in the sand under the scorching sun. They were having fun with an all-out, small-scale water war. Seeing as he wouldn't be making much progress, what with the pervert straying attention, Naruto put the notes down, stretched his muscles, and casually relocated himself to the table on the other side of the beach bar. The green-haired, bespectacled killer baby occupying the table spared him a teensy-weensy glance, then resumed his engrossed observation of Naruto's brats. I am not interested. Consider this my response to whatever piqued your curiosity, and do not waste my time with trite excuses. My research is far more important than anything you have to say. Normally, Naruto would have declared open season on baby Kabuto, but he was just so fucking mellow right now that he couldn't muster the energy to give a flying fuck, much less sink into a nean-animal blind rage. Also, they were lying low, last thing he needed was to reignite the rumors. So he parked his ass and smiled a lazy, dangerous smile. That's funny, 'cause I thought you were very interested in my kids, judging by the way you've been observing them for the past half hour. Baby Kabuto finally regarded him with something other than bored condescension. Pardon me. It seems we have gotten off to a bad start. Unintentionally, I assure you. Adjusting his glasses, he cleared his throat, as if it took major brain effort for him to come up with unintentionally as a decent excuse for being a dick. Verde. I am first and foremost a scientist. And you are? You can call me Naruto. I'm many things, but what's relevant here is that I'm responsible for those kids. Mind telling me what caught your attention? The lenses of his round glasses glinted in the sun, but Naruto didn't need to see baby Kabuto's eyes to judge his sincerity. He could hear it in his voice in tandem with a clinical sort of giddiness that clashed horribly with his overall attitude. Their manipulation of flames is unique. Innovative, to be precise. Riveting, if you wish to be poetic. Did you introduce them to such novel techniques? Man, these scientist types were all a bunch of awkward islands, but at least the ice had been broken. Yeah, I taught them, though as you can see, they're still learning. As they watched the kiddie battle royale, Naruto pointed out Ken's perfectly timed but clumsy execution of the Inuzuka clan's Tsuga. That right there is, if done right, middle-level stuff at best. Then Kyoya's, why are you breaking out the Akimichi's Koharite brat? We're on a civilian beach, for fuck's sake. Oh, you cut down the chakra by 3/4. Never mind, carry on. But what Kyo-chan's doing can be high-level depending on how much chakra he pumps into it. Fascinating. Baby Kabuto breathed out, mimicking Shamo's fervent note-taking pace. The similarity was jarring enough to make Naruto wince. They're getting better every day. He shrugged his shoulders, because this was pretty much routine for him, then broached the matter that had brought him to baby Kabuto's table in the first place. What I find fascinating is your animal partner. Both baby Kabuto and nean-animal blinked at the same time, and whoa, that was even more jarring. Oh. He is an alligatorid crocodilian belonging to the subfamily Caimanini with the distinctive ability to alter his size. Tiny fingers stroked the expanse of the reptile's spine as he stopped talking, uncomfortable and seeming out of words. His name is Caiman. Baby Kabuto ended up blurting, which was kinda hilarious. And sad. How unoriginal the name was, despite the owner's vaunted genius. Also the fact his only friend seemed to be a moody baby reptile. So, he's a size-changing Caiman. Naruto's mouth twitched, but to his credit, he made a valiant effort to withhold his laughter. How did you come by him? And damn if that wasn't a taboo question, because baby Kabuto's fingers stilled, the baby reptile glared yellow-slit murder, and he coldly said, I did not acquire him through conventional means, and that is all I am willing to reveal concerning this matter. That's a pity. A sigh. Naruto didn't want to push baby Kabuto's buttons, putting the fear of God in killer babies? Yeah, bring it on, bitches. Twisting the knife in old wounds? Nah, that shit was cruel. But, and this was an important but. See, my kids have been pestering me for ages about getting them an animal partner. Problem is, nean animals like your caiman are quite rare. In fact, I've only ever seen them in the company of Arcoleno. That is a shame, but I fail to grasp how it correlates with our discussion. Have you ever thought of replicating those unconventional means? No. Sore subject, huh? Quite. At this point, Naruto was ready to throw in the towel, and he would have, honest, if baby Kabuto, probably sensing his mounting desperation, hadn't fiddled with the skeleton of his glasses and thrown him a bone. I have entertained the idea of animal box weapons, however. Oh? Animal box weapons, you say? A hungry, demented glint entered Naruto's gaze. Baby Kabuto returned it tenfold. They stared at each other with the ferocity of starving beasts, and the implacable will of men who would chase their dreams to the edge of insanity. Something deep resonated. It might have been empathy, it might have been solidarity, it might have been fire chakra, but they were too far gone to notice. Yes, you see, the original concept was derived from the work of a biologist 4 centuries prior to our time, Geppetto Lorenzini theorized. Naruto listened, nodded here and there, marveled at the ingenuity of the original concept, and when Baby Kabuto finished with an aggrieved sigh, irritated at his own inability to actualize Lorenzini's vision, he grinned and played his trump card. I see your problem. What if I could provide an alternative solution? Sunlight reflected off the surface of Baby Kabuto's glasses, so bright it near blinded Naruto, as he stared into his eyes for a drawn-out moment. Then, you would have my complete and undivided attention. Dipping his hand inside the pocket of his summer shorts to disguise his actions, Naruto pushed chakra into the storage seal drawn on his wristband and brought out the pack of grade 1 seals in it. This is a storage seal. He separated one from the pack and passed it over when Baby Kabuto extended his arm, not that it'd do him any good. Genius scientist he might be, but Fuinjutsu was an art that took knowledge and patience and teachers and years to understand. The short explanation is that it stores things, from solid objects to pure flames to anything really. The implication of like storing fire chakra animals into boxes was impossible to miss. There have been hypotheses of conceptual seals even, but that's not my field of expertise. Fuinjutsu is an ancient and complicated art, and as of now, exclusive to my famiglia. Baby Kabuto was too intelligent not to grasp all implications. You want me to join your famiglia? Confused, as if nobody had ever offered, and damn it, Baby Kabuto, that was just sad, way too much like his namesake. Which meant he'd make an excellent mother. Sweet, Naruto's grin widened. Yup. Why? Still confused, but purple eyes clear through the lenses, razor sharp and demanding and more than a little considering. I need a head for the R&D department. Truth, but more than that, need animals. Heichan's a genius, yeah, but no matter how fast he picks up theory, he's still young and inexperienced. You, on the other hand. He didn't need to complete the sentence, they both knew. Baby Kabuto's hand reached for his ninkamen, fingers running up and down, a compulsive, absent-minded pattern, a chain of fast, agitated words erupting from his throat. I am not accustomed to working with others. They slow down my research and they cannot understand the simplest theorems, and they call my testing methods unethical, and my kids will love you. And Naruto meant it. Those little monsters would love testing out new weapons and armor and seals and all kinds of dangerous shit. And need animals, because he couldn't stress that enough. Hell, Naruto wouldn't be surprised if they built an altar in Baby Kabuto's honor. The petting stopped. Baby Kabuto blinked, pushing his glasses up his nose, and said with the air of someone who had irrefutable scientific evidence. I highly doubt that. Past experience with pre-adolescent children has not yielded positive results. It just showed how little he knew of the world outside his laboratory. Poor, sad bastard. Naruto shook his head. Watch this. 2 loud whistles. The battle royale came to a sudden halt as his brats heeded the code for ceasefire. Even Shamu's gaze was drawn away from the noble young flesh he'd been feasting on. Oh, Heia-chan! Come here a minute, there's somebody I want you to meet. Hayato sprinted across the sand not 1 second after his name was shouted, and of course, the whole pack followed. Singed, bruised, grazed, out of breath but wildly grinning, he collided with Naruto's legs. Naruto laughed as he helped him up while the rest gathered around the table with curious expressions. Except Kyoya, that hellspawn was visibly devouring the ninkamen and eyeballing Naruto, back and forth and expectant. This is Verde and he. That was as far as he got before Hayato climbed up his lap and barely refrained from throwing himself across the table at Baby Kabuto. I know who he is! Who hasn't heard of Verde? I can't believe this! This is so amazing! Baby Kabuto had this bewildered look on his face, as if science had failed him for the first time in his life, and how the fuck had that happened, while Hayato kept rambling on and on and on. Your recent literature on flame robotics engineering. It didn't help matters when the other brats chipped in with their unique welcome after being clued in by Naruto during Hayato's incomprehensible rambling. To everyone else, Verde understood every single word. He just had trouble believing it came out of the boy's mouth. Will Verde-san upgrade our weapons? Kyoya. Testing sounds like fun. I'm in. Takashi. Nice to meet you, Verde-san. Welcome to the family. Kyoko. An intelligent person will be appreciated around here. Hana. Pleased to meet you, Verde-san. I look forward to working with you. Tetsuya. I've never met a famous scientist before. You must be extremely smart. Ryohei. Kafufa. Interesting. Makuro. I do not consent to genetic modification and invasive surgical procedures, Verde-san. If you agree to these terms, I have no issue with testing your inventions. Chikusa. No animal experimentation or testing either, Verde-san, and we're cool, bye on. Ken. All Naruto had to say after the kitty welcome committee was, "We live in Namamori, Japan." Baby Kabuto nodded once, palm obscuring his glasses and voice oddly quiet, verging on choked up. "I will cover the expenses for procuring an estate and transferring my equipment, but I will expect you to fund my research once I am settled." Deal. Naruto raised his fist Killer Bee style, fiery orange licking at his skin. 5 seconds later, a tiny fist met the center of his knuckles with a crackle of green thunder. Shamao chuckled. "Only you, Volpe,